Good evening. I'm going to call to order the school board meeting for May 10th. Dr. Calderon, you have the invocation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In that last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, one of my favorite weeks of the year. I think every week should be Teacher Appreciation Week, now more than ever. I thought I'd share a few quotes that I always like to revisit. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn, from Benjamin Franklin. What the teacher is more important than what he teaches, by Carl Menninger. Teaching is the greatest act of optimism, from Colleen Wilcox. And it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge, said Albert Einstein. So on behalf of this entire board, we just want to again thank all of our SCPS teachers and staff members for leading such a phenomenal district. We appreciate your time and your talents. If you'd all please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the indivisible.
As this meeting commences, please be advised that it is unlawful for any person to knowingly disrupt or interfere with the administration or function of any school board or activity on school board property. It is expectation that every person present or who enters this assembly will conduct themselves with civility, courtesy, and restraint. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the district policies and procedures as they relate to order and decorum. Disruptive behavior and actions are counterproductive to the advancement of pertinent district business. Therefore, each individual is warned that failure to conduct oneself with civility and propriety may result in removal. We thank you in advance for everyone's attention and adherence and cooperation. Please note for the record that all school board members, board clerk, superintendent, and board attorney are present. Board, Ms. Moramis, do we have any acknowledgments? No. Okay. Superintendent, do we have any agenda modifications?
Yes, I do. Would like to pull from the agenda item 2A, Veteran of the Month, and also modify item 6B, School Board Meeting Calendar, to remove the joint workshop with the Insurance Committee on May 31st, but keep the policy workshop on student conduct and discipline.
Okay. School board members, roll call order for tonight is Member Almond, Member Calderon, Member Sanchez, Member Kraus, and then myself. Do you have any agenda modifications, Member Almond?
I do. Pull for separate consideration item 6D, like David, B like boy, please. Thank you.
6B. Okay. Member Calderon?
No, Madam Chair.
Member Sanchez?
No modifications.
Member Kraus?
No modifications, thank you.
And I have no agenda modifications as well. May I have a motion to approve the agenda outline?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any discussion? Any opposed, say aye. Motion carries. Superintendent Beeman, we have presentations and recognition.
Yes, we have administrator and introductions.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Ms. Beeman. As the outgoing and retiring Assistant Superintendent of Services, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Ms. Amy Elwood, your incoming Assistant Superintendent of Student Support Services. Amy began her journey in special education when her son was diagnosed with a learning disability at the age of 2. With a passion to help her own child and others with disabilities, she went back to college at the University of Central Florida, where she earned her bachelor's degree in science and special education, while working as an ESE paraprofessional in the self-contained classroom at Carolina Elementary School. She taught students with disabilities at Millwee Middle School and went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership in 2013. She has served the district for over 16 years, most recently in the role of Director of Intervention Services. She looks forward to serving with the amazing district team that is here with her admin team, and is represented and supported by her husband, David, daughter, Emily, along with her future daughter-in-law, Megan. Congratulations, Amy.
So as another outgoing assistant superintendent, I'd like to welcome our new assistant superintendent for elementary education, Dr. Heidi Gooch. Dr. Gooch earned her bachelor's degree in English and a master in arts in teaching from Stetson University, and then her doctoral degree in educational leadership at the University of Central Florida. Heidi began her 30-year SCPS career teaching English at Lake Brantley High School and served as a student government sponsor and English department chair. She can write. Spent 6 years as an elementary assistant principal and almost 10 as the principal of Redbug Elementary School and then Heathrow Elementary School. Dr. Gooch is currently the Director of Leadership Pathways, Recruitment, Retention, and Certification. In addition to her role in SCPS, Dr. Gooch is an adjunct who mentors education graduate student interns for the University of Central Florida. She is a Take Stock in Children mentor and serves on the Advisory Council for the Seminole County United Negro College Fund, UCF's Partners in Elementary Education Steering Committee, Rollins College Education Program Advisory Committee, and the FSU Educational Leadership Advisory. Welcome to elementary education again, Dr. Gooch. With her tonight is her husband, Frank Gooch, who is a 43-year teaching veteran at Lake Brantley High School. And her daughter, Anna Gooch, who is a Lake Brantley graduate and just finished her first year at FAU. And then second daughter, Sarah, is a rising senior at Lake Brantley High School, and she's busy playing volleyball tonight. Thank you.
Board members, we are, for our focus on student achievement, talking with Dr. Wysong and team regarding our new educator support team, NEST. Turn it over to you, Dr. Wysong.
Thank you, Superintendent Beeman, Chair Panic, board members, good evening. We're excited tonight to really think about that title of this segment of the meeting, focused on student achievement. And we know that putting high-quality educators in the classroom and supporting them is the very best thing we can do to create student achievement and help students achieve their goals. And so we're going to focus tonight on a first-year program, the new Educator support team, and we're going to walk you through the highlights of that program, and then there'll be some quantitative data along the way, and then I am joined by 6 amazing colleagues tonight, and you're going to hear from each of them to provide some stakeholder perspective in terms of testimonials for what the program achieved. So again, NEST is New Educator Support Team. This is a teacher quality and retention effort that is pretty tightly aligned to the board's strategic plan system initiative F. Again, certainly working on the retention portion of the investment in our employees. Really the genesis of the NEST model was Mr. Jensen's interview for Director of Teaching and Learning, and he talked with the interview panel about the responsibility that the Department of Teaching and Learning has in teacher retention. We historically think of teacher retention as an HR function, and then as a function of the school and the leadership team at the school. But certainly district departments have a role to play in how well teachers feel supported in their work. And so Mr. Jensen made a compelling argument for really reframing how at the district level we support teachers from the instructional side. And so we were able to put this model into effect this year. This is really a refresh of what we used to call the school-wide mentor approach, where there was one person who kind of brought all the new teachers together. There was a very, very small stipend for that work. And frankly, the implementation varied from school to school. So what Mr. Jensen and team proposed was a more uniform approach to new teacher support with milestones and expectations along the way, and frankly, a compensation model that rewarded the person on each campus responsible for making all of that happen. And so before I turn it over, I want to, and again, we talk a lot in these presentations about groups of people coming together to make initiatives happen. And in this case, 2 of the key players very early on, Don Bonce, our Director of Employee Relations, and then Dan Smith, the president of SEA, and his board, because in order to implement this model, we needed a memorandum of understanding to proceed. And those groups came together to work out the details so that we could move forward. And so appreciate Mrs. Bonce and Mr. Smith and their leadership to be sure that we could get this off the ground. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Derek Jensen, our Director of Teaching and Learning, to give you the highlights of the program.
There we go. Thank you. I think one of the reasons, as Dr. Weisong shared, I'm very passionate about the idea of how we work with new teachers, how we build expertise, and how we ignite passion for teaching that lasts over an entire career. And I think it's because I remember my own first year teaching so vividly at Crooms Academy, and how much enthusiasm I had, but also how much I desperately needed the support of really wonderful mentors I had, like Ms. Faison and Dr. Collins there, who spent so much time in my classroom giving me feedback, helping me with the students. And I know that I wouldn't have been able to persist in the profession if it hadn't been for their support of me when I was a young teacher. And so to that end, we've really, and I kind of tasked Pam with this, and I'll talk about Pam here in a second, but we really kind of grappled with this idea of how do we build stronger networks of support for teachers at every school, a more coherent district-wide system that allows all new teachers to feel like they have a person, just like we ask if students have a person, do you as a new teacher have a person in this district who you can rely upon to help you through this year and to share expertise with? And so For this program, we really had 4 key goals. We wanted to improve the volume and quantity of new teacher professional development in the district. We wanted to increase the instructional quality and student achievement of new teachers in those classrooms. We wanted to create a culture of support for new educators, and we wanted to develop teacher leadership, provide even more opportunities for teachers on our campuses to build networks of leadership and share expertise. To this end, I tasked Pam Ferranti and Corey Baker, who are both professional learning specialists on my team, who are to consider how we could build this unified network of support. And Pam and Corey have just done an outstanding job this year building this network and working with these teachers and planning really compelling professional development. And you'll hear from Pam in a second about what the program looks like in action. So starting at the district level with the district supports, we have Pam and Corey, but then we also have a lead teacher at every school, and that person is selected annually by the school-based administrator. We have 1 lead teacher per school site, and we award that lead teacher a stipend of $2,500 for the year, or $1,250 per semester, to kind of account for all the work they put in to coaching and coordinating for those new teachers. And we have some really spectacular NEST lead teachers, one of which you'll hear from tonight. And then, of course, we have our NEST members, and those are the team members as part of the team. So the lead teacher coordinates the network of support at the school, but it really takes a whole village at a school to support their new teachers. And this last slide I'll walk you through is just kind of the composition of our new educator support teams across the schools. So the percentages you see are by role, the level of participation by role and by school. So at 50% or 56% of our new educator support teams have the principal involved as an active participant on the new educator support team. 72% have an assistant principal. And so you can really see that at every school, there's a variety of roles coming together to coordinate this support network for new teachers, which I find really, really exciting. And so to kind of walk you through the logistics of how this team works together and makes the magic happen for our new teachers, I'll introduce Pam Ferranti at this time.
So the program has 2 components, and the first is the way we support our lead teachers. Really crucial to the program working is for that lead teacher to have a lot of support, and it starts off with a 2-day summer institute. And during the summer institute, the teachers come together and explore the foundations of supporting new teachers. We do a lot of work with what research says and providing lots of different methods that they can use throughout the school year. At the end of the Summer Institute, the lead teachers leave with having created an initial long-range plan for their school, and they, as Derek mentioned, a big part of that is coming up with a list of who at their school they want to invite into their NEST team. So that happens in the summer. In addition to that initial training, the lead teachers meet monthly with Corey and I, and they have an opportunity to reflect on what's going well, where their struggles are, to communicate and work together, collaborate with the other people from each school. Additionally, each month, we ask our lead teachers to create a plan for how they're going to support their teachers on their school site. Those plans have to include who the members of their NEST are that are going to be providing different types of support. They always have to include a learning opportunity for the new teachers, things like coaching conversations, classroom modeling, observations, and things like that, and an opportunity for those new teachers to reflect and process that learning. And all of that has to be turned in monthly. Corey and I sit and we review those plans, and if we see any issues, we reach out and we have conversations with the lead teacher. So we're closely monitoring the kinds of activities that are happening in the schools. And then finally, our lead teachers have an opportunity to continually improve their own professional growth, and they attend quarterly PDs with Corey and I. Those are always coordinated in relation to district initiatives, as well as feedback that we get from the lead teachers and from new teachers themselves in a fall survey that we give. Here is an example of one of our sample monthly plans. And you will notice that that plan has multiple opportunities for the new teachers to reflect on their instructional practice. The new educator programming, the support that the new teachers get, starts really in the summertime when we have a new educator conference, and we've been doing that in our district for a number of years. That's kind of our first opportunity to meet our new teachers and to make a positive impression on them. So they come in the summertime for 2 days, and then for any teacher that is either unable to attend in the summer or comes and is hired after the school year starts, we do neck makeups, and those are held basically from August until February. And then in addition to the monthly professional development that they get at their school sites from their NEST team, we also, Corey and I, offer quarterly district level PD. And again, we go back to the fall survey that we give them, and we look at the topics that they've expressed interest in getting support with. And we talk to our lead teachers in our monthly meetings, and we find out what they think their teachers need, and then we create the PD opportunities that fit those needs. A big piece of our program involves utilizing our UF certified coaches. At this juncture, we have about 500 or a little bit more than 500 teachers in Seminole County who have been through and been certified as UF instructional coaches. And so all of our schools have a good number of those folks. And so we ask our lead teachers always to recruit those folks to be part of their part of their NEST team. And then have all of our new teachers have at least 2 opportunities over the course of the year to be involved with a coaching cycle. So they have that really deep opportunity to reflect on their instructional practice. And then finally, our new teachers everyone gets a copy of this book called The Beginning Teacher's Field Guide. And it takes them through the cycle that all teachers go through every year with the beginning of anticipation, and then you kind of get into that rough time when you're just in survival mode, and then you start getting through rejuvenation and so forth. This text is used by all of our NEST teams kind of as a book study and an opportunity for the new teachers to come together with their lead teachers and anyone else at the school who wants to participate and kind of just reflect on instructional practice and also reflect on ways to take care of yourself as an educator. We are very fortunate that we have really great relationships, especially with the HR department, and that kind of begins in the summertime when we get all our names for new teachers. So we get giant lists of names. We sort through them. We try to program the new teachers by school to come to the new educator conference so that when they come to sessions, they can all sit with other people that are new at their same school and start right from the get-go building those really important relationships. And so the Human Resources provides us those names. They also continue to provide them throughout the year so that we can reach out to those folks and invite them to our makeup sessions. And then during the New Educator Conference in the summer, the Human Resources Department sends us a whole team of people that come and do presentations at that conference, which is really helpful for the new teachers. And then I would like to take a moment to really express my sincere gratitude, especially to Miss Carolyn Hebe, because this past year she has done a fabulous job. She has come to every one of our makeup sessions in person and spoken to our new teachers as a whole group, and then she sat there for the whole 3 hours and let teachers go and meet with her one-on-one and gone through all of their records with them and helped them understand what they needed to do to get their certification. So she's been a huge asset to our program this year. Here are the materials that we use, or some of the materials that we use. You'll see the text. The first one is the Supporting Beginning Teachers. That one, all of our NEST lead teachers get, and again, it takes them through the whole process of the whole year and how to best support the new teachers that they work with, and there's the field guide that the new teachers themselves get. We've also, this year, incorporated the Global PD Solution Tree resource that we got in conjunction with the PLC work that was done over the summer. And we've used a session in there with our new teachers, and then they've trained, with our Nest lead teachers, and then they've used it. And then we often use the New Art and Science of Teaching book, which is connected to our evaluation system. But more importantly, we use it a lot in UF coaching as well, because it gives really excellent, concise examples of what good teaching looks like. And so we use that to anchor a lot of the PD that we do. Here are just some numbers from this year's Nest. We have 62 lead teachers. Those lead teachers have supported 521 new or early year teachers. So all the teachers in that grouping, the majority of them are brand new first year teachers, but some of them are teachers in year 2 and 3, because we want that support to continue at least through those first few years. We had 134 brand new teachers attend our New Educator Conference in the summer, and then we had 71 additional teachers come to our 4 makeup sessions. We have presented 4 New Educator PD sessions, and 57 teachers attended those. And when we collect those monthly plans, we have documented over 1,116 individual activities supporting new teachers across all of our schools. I've had additionally for our lead teachers 26 individual PD sessions and meetings where they got reinforcement of the skills that they use to support their new teachers. Are some of the areas that new educators have reported that they've gotten support this year. We did a fall survey for new teachers and a spring end of the year survey that we just recently collected the data from. And the new teachers have reported that they've gotten just a vast variety of support in different areas. The cool thing about this survey is that we had our 4th quarter PD for our lead teachers last week, and the lead teachers are using this data to kind of start planning for next year. And as you noticed, the lowest area on that survey was in parent communication support with understanding how to interact and communicate well with parents. And so our lead teachers have already taken that data and decided, oh, that's an area that we're going to focus on more, because the new teachers have reported they didn't get as much support in that area as they did in others. So the data is very helpful for making those sorts of decisions. And this is our favorite piece of the data. The last question on the new educator survey was for them to reflect on if they are likely to stay in education for the next 5 years. And as you can see, about 94% of them are at least somewhat likely, and of that, 60% feel like they are very likely to stay in education for the next 5 years, which would be fabulous if that comes to fruition. And if it does, that it will far exceed the KPI goal that we have in our strategic plan at this time. So we're hoping that that comes true. Like too fast. So at this time, I would like, as Mr. Jensen said, we've invited some of our stakeholders, and the first who's going to talk to us for a moment, I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Coleman, who is the principal at South Seminole Academy, and she's going to talk about the impact of the NEST program at her school.
Sorry, we have our, I won't remember everything I just said. You can't see it. All right, so what I was saying was that Pam did a really good job of outlining the different things that they're doing with the NEST program, and I outlined things that were impactful for us at the school level, particularly what I'm seeing at my school. And one of them is the opportunity to build those supportive relationships within those near. A lot of that we have, is so much more than just the content and the curriculum. There's discipline concerns that teachers may have. We're realigning PLC structures. We have data analysis and common formative assessments, and how does that drive instruction? And that can be a little overwhelming for teachers who are just trying to, are just getting their feet wet and may not know what to expect or what to change. So a part of this NEST program, having that supportive ally in the school, or that nest, I love that analogy that you said, that nest for our students has enhanced the teacher retainment that we're seeing. It's kind of slowing that burn that we typically see. As a magnet school, on top of all of that, we also have a lot of leadership initiatives that we have to implement. And it's just been having, the NEST teachers and having that team really be able to spell that out for our teachers has been instrumental. Coaching cycles that are embedded in the program are very valuable. We see that that UF coaching connection is like Pam read my notes, but that UF coaching connection that we're seeing as we're expanding to have more members on our campus who have gone through the Coaching Institute, we're able to broaden the support that we can give to our teachers, offering that opportunity for the peer observations and also for the fishbowl opportunity for those teachers that are just learning to really go in and see it in action. And then having veteran teachers mentoring, we want to also give that feedback and that positivity to our veteran teachers who have a wealth of knowledge to share with our incoming students, with our incoming teachers. They feel valued, and it also gives them the opportunity to reflect on their own practices when they're in those roles. We have a motto at our school called Empowering Students to Lead. With this model, we're empowering our teachers to lead. And by doing that, we enhance the trust and transparency, which leads to overall good.
Dr. Coleman. It's now my privilege and honor to introduce to you Rachel Ortiz, who is our NEST lead from Pinecrest Elementary, and she's going to share some of her experiences with building her own NEST team at Pinecrest.
Hello. A lot of the things I'm going to point out were already said, but as a person who taught here and did not receive a lot of support when I first started, and as a former new teacher mentor, I am actually very grateful for the NEST initiative. There are 3 things that I felt that really helped me feel successful in supporting teachers this year. The first thing were the planning opportunities. Not only the long-term plans in the beginning of the year, but being held accountable with our monthly plans, monthly check-ins, quarter PDs that we are allowed to do. The next thing I would say were the coaching cycles. Again, were already said, but I love that not only was it a learning opportunity for the new teachers, but for myself as well. They were teacher-focused, data-focused, and I feel that I saw lots of growth because it allowed not only new teachers, but myself to have a lot of self-reflection. And what I really love about NEST, last but not least, was, as mentioned, having a team. As I've mentioned, I've done a new teacher mentor before, and it was overwhelming, especially if you have a lot of turnaround. So I love that this year I not only have the support of Pam and Corey, but I've had admin on my team, team leaders, coaches, even other teachers who have been part of my NEST team, and also the NEST leaders, the opportunity to get together with others who are in my same situation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And last but not least, I'd like to invite 2 of our brand new educators. They are kindergarten teachers from Evans Elementary, and they're going to share a little bit about their new teacher experience. So I'd like to introduce Emma Alderman and Caitlin McLaughlin.
Hi, my name's Caitlin McLaughlin, and I started in Seminole County in October, so I missed the New Educator Conference in the summer. But one of the things that really stood out to me with NEST is those professional development opportunities, because once I got to go to the New Educator Conference makeup, we met Pam and Corey, and they were amazing, and we ended up also attending a monitoring student growth professional development. And both of those opportunities really gave us some practical strategies that we could use with our students as well, like the way the content was presented to us. Also gave us applicable strategies to use with our students, which has been world-changing in my classroom. Also the book study that we've been completing with our NEST lead and our fellow members of NEST at our monthly meetings has honestly been really imperative to my success as a first-year teacher, because it's just so nice to be able to have like a book kind of confirm all the feelings that you're having and the kind of whirlwind of a year that the first year is. And then also being able to communicate and build those relationships with the other new teachers, as well as our lead teacher, Terry Wayne, and having their support and just having their like, yeah, me too, or, oh, I'm here, but you're here, and that's okay too, and just kind of being able to bounce off of each other and really reflect on all our practices and how we're feeling as first-year teachers. Program, thank you.
Hi, I'm Emma Alderson. Sorry, too loud. And I've wanted to be a kindergarten teacher since I was in kindergarten. I love kindergarten. I love everything about being a teacher and going to school. When I pictured it, I thought mostly of singing and dancing and making relationships with the new students and wearing bright colors. And I feel like NEST has really helped me with everything that is in between all of those really fun things. Throughout the coaching cycles, which I know we talked about, it's given me really valuable advice, because even though I love my administration, my principal's here today actually, I love her so much, it can be very stressful to be evaluated by your direct superior. But with these NEST coaching cycles, I really find myself looking forward to them, because I get to pick one thing that I'd really like to work on for my professional development, and then I get her to come to my room and she shows me exactly what I can do to better my practice. And I think that that's really valuable, because I love my principal, but very stressful. This is my dream career, and while talking to children is very easy for me, it is different with adults, even though I'm trying to be very. NEST, though, has made me feel really welcome in my school community, and I think that without it, I wouldn't have had the same confidence going in. Our monthly NEST meetings aren't just for the book study, but they help us collaborate, they help us asking questions, and they help us build that sense of community, because we're not the only new teachers at our school, so we get to see what the other grade levels are thinking about. And even though, that's a new fourth grade teacher, while they're dealing with something that me as a new kindergarten teacher is dealing with as well. So I really just think that the sense of community that it builds is very important. Honestly, we've felt nothing but support and kindness from NEST and from SCPS, and we're so grateful and we're so happy to be here, and we hope to be here for a long time.
Ms. Alderson and Ms. McLaughlin, thank you for being here. We don't ask many first-year teachers to come and talk in a public meeting in front of our board. We appreciate you both for doing this, and whoever is in my job 35 years from now looks forward to going to your retirement celebration. Board members, just a couple of closing notes. First of all, Dr. Coleman, we appreciate you being here and representing 61 SCPS principals, and this initiative doesn't work without them going to their very best people and saying, I need you to do one more thing for us. I need you to make sure that our new teachers are well supported. So just want to publicly acknowledge our principals and their assistant superintendents for buying into this work and going on this journey with us. Secondly, there obviously, as you saw, there were financial costs to the program in terms not only of increased compensation to the lead teachers, but also the increase in materials and supports for new teachers, and all of that was funded through our Title II grant for supporting educators. And obviously, we had to rearrange some things and reprioritize some things, but I think we made good decisions there given the early evidence of promise from the first year. So thank you for the opportunity to talk with you tonight about this program.
I have a question. Can you go back to the slide with the stats on it? Keep going, right there. Do you have national stats or other stats that can compare? This looks fabulous, and the success of hearing how successful it was personally. Again, I'm a stats person. I would love to see how this compares to the national data, because I'm sure it's higher in the expected return rate. And then is this something you're going to keep trending on?
So this is a homegrown survey result, so a comparison wouldn't really tell us much because we weren't using the same instrument. I think, again, in light of how successful this was, both from a data and from a qualitative perspective, that may be something we take a look at to see from a research perspective what else is out there and what we can benchmark against. And certainly that's something that our incoming program evaluator may be able to assist with.
Dr. Calderon?
Well, maybe the question that you were really asking is what data do we have nationally, since obviously this is a homegrown survey, but we hear quoted a lot in educational journals about the average length a teacher stays in the classroom before burnout or retiring, and I think that would be an interesting thing if truly, and I hope we're going to track this for 5 years too to see if the data correlates with the survey, but I think that is an interesting data point to say that, yes, because of this program, and it could be for a lot of other reasons, having rock star principals, having rock star leads, that it's a better working environment for all. So that might be interesting to look at.
Dr. Calderon, I think right nationally we see about 50% of the teacher workforce turning over within that first 5 years. So certainly this is a cohort that we'll track and follow, although a lot of other factors, will influence the next 4 years. Just as you said, there are multiple factors that influence the first year, but certainly something that we can take a look at.
Pam, I had a question on your NEC makeups. Is that because we're hiring teachers throughout the year, or did we not have the expectation, or were they not notified during the interview process that we were having the conference during the summer?
We didn't necessarily track what the reasons were why the people who came to makeups came. However, I will say that we purposefully invited anybody who was hired after the start of the school year with a separate invitation. And then our Nestle teachers also support reminding anybody in their school who's a new teacher, they haven't come to the New Educator Conference, to come to the makeup.
I just didn't know if we, as the board, could do something to increase that participation at that summer conference, because I love having that high energy, and I don't know if there was a disconnect in communicating this year, or it was because of COVID, or we didn't invite the right database, but I think there's power in numbers, and as we heard from our 2 rockstar kindergarten teachers, it's good for them to network with each other, to not feel alone, and I would love to, I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole board, but I think we'd all want to do whatever we could do to support your great work to have a bigger impact on that conference, so you don't have to redo it.
Dr. Calderon, I share your sentiment, and I also think that this is something we looked at originally when we developed these makeup sessions. It was with the intention of we're hiring teachers throughout the year, and we certainly don't want a teacher hired in October to miss the new teacher orientation experiences and training that a teacher who was hired in June had the opportunity to receive. But this summer, I think we're already putting some measures in place to make sure we're even more supportive of new teachers with kind of pre-planned professional development with the Best Summer Ever, which will be really the first time we have district-organized professional development over the summer that new teachers will be able to access, and then followed by 2 days of the new Educator Conference. So we'll make sure we have a really strong push for registering and orienting teachers, not just for that 2-day conference, but also for that 5 days of really strong curriculum training and shared planning time with the teams they're going to be joining.
If I could ask one last question. So I know we work with our teachers on differentiated instruction. So my question would be on the new teacher. I know when I look out on the auditorium, what you consider would be typical new teacher would be a recent college graduate in 22, and there are some people out there that I know are really great veteran teachers that we've recruited from our neighboring places. Do we differentiate that training if, let's say, you've been teaching for 20 years versus it's your first classroom since you've graduated?
So yes, we do.
Okay.
So at the very beginning of the school year, the NEST leads will support all teachers who are new to their campus for about the first month. And that is a lot of just orienting teachers to the culture of the school and where everything is and helping them just get acclimated, especially if they're new to SCPS in general. After that, they really focus on supporting teachers who are in years 1 through 3. So if you're a veteran teacher and you come from a neighboring county, perhaps, and join us, you would have an introduction by your NEST lead teacher for the first couple of weeks of school, make sure you're all good, and we ask our lead teachers to let those new folks who are new to our district know that they can come to them with questions and for support, but they're not going to receive the programming support that those years. Different schools have different numbers of new teachers, so obviously if you're at a school and we have some schools that had 15 or 16 or 17 new teachers. So the NEST leads build a bigger support team and they have more group activities. And then the schools where there are just a few new teachers, then they really get that completely one-on-one support.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for having this foresight and vision. I think feeling supported is crucial to having great teachers and supportive staffs and happy children. So thank you for having the vision to support our teachers. And thank you for being here tonight.
I just want to echo on that as well. You know, I haven't been in the classroom in 6 years, and I would love to look at those books or find out where to purchase them from. And I just think it's so extremely important to beg, borrow, and steal ideas from each other and to learn from each other. And that's how it should be, is to, you know, it takes a village. And I think when I went to college, I didn't learn nearly as much as being in the classroom and learning hands-on. That is the way to learn. And I think having this and collaborating together is a perfect model. And I'm looking forward to this growing and making it everywhere, and so we can retain our teachers as well as our veteran teachers. Thank you.
So one additional question. This is for new teachers, and you touched a little bit about the differentiation between what a new teacher is. Are we targeting 2nd through 5-year teachers to give them that extra support they may need to flip their perspective and make sure they stay in education and don't go over that fence at that 5-year term?
Absolutely. We, as Pam kind of choreographed this program, she really thought about not just kind of the supports a first-year teacher would need, but also the kinds of mentorship a year 2 and year 3 teacher would need. And her work with these NEST leads at the school really incorporate strategies and protocols for working with these teachers to kind of build expertise year over year. So we're hoping that as we kind of see 5-year cohort data start sweeping in, we'll kind of see that progression of expertise and that progression of teachers staying in the profession.
Thank you all very much. This is wonderful. Congratulations on your first year. Welcome aboard.
I want to go back to kindergarten if I can be in your classrooms.
Okay, school board members, we are at board member items for discussion. Member Almond, do you have any?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Dr. Calderon?
I'll wait till committee reports.
Member Sanchez?
Yeah, I actually do. I just want to mention, first of all, Dr. Coleman, when she mentioned that building supportive relationships with our students and teachers is extremely important. And when I took an oath as being a teacher back in 1990, my job was to be a voice and to also listen to the voices of students and faculty, and to have a positive culture and to grow within the world that we live in. And I find it, thinking last night, just tossing and turning, I'm here to model, to make sure that your voices are heard. And I wanted you to be able to speak and to be able to have that. And the greatest gift that we could give to our students is for them to be able to communicate and speak. Our world has changed, and I can say actually not for the best as far as I'm concerned. We're taking steps backwards, not forwards. And the enthusiasm from all these students that happen to be here today just made me realize and think that looking at yearbooks, looking at all comments, who's to say one comment's better than any other comment? We should be able to voice our concerns, and we shouldn't have anybody take that right away from us. I just wanted to voice that and let everybody know that, you know, I'm here to be supportive of our students and their voices.
Member Kraus?
Order, please. Order. Thank you.
Thank you. I too wanted to speak about the students and their families that have written and called us. You've shared your feelings and your perspective regarding the student-led walkout at Lyman High School. And first I want students to understand the school board cannot take action or corrective action here. The school board does not have that authority. The process is that school-produced materials are approved by the administration. Understandably, this feels like censure to the students, and this hurts my heart. I believe more oversight should have happened, but the yearbook is prepared for students, by the students, and it's meant to be a record of their time in high school, what they thought and cared about, and what mattered to them. Because of this, I personally don't feel any of the solutions presented encourage an option that brings a yearbook closer to our goal of meeting our policy and preserving the history of the event that happened. Students felt this was important to be included in the yearbook. And I hope that the students, you know that I hear you, I see you, I support you being here to express your deep concerns and your hurt. Thank you for being here.
And I do not have anything to add, but thank you for your comments. Member Sanchez, would you please read the notice?
Policy 0169.1, public participation at board meetings. The purpose of the public participation segment of the board meeting is to allow the public to address matters with the board's jurisdiction and not for resolving individual grievances or disputes. Public comments related to education, the board agenda, and the district are welcome and encouraged. To maintain orderly conduct, the public comment segment of the meeting may not be used as an open forum to discuss matters unrelated to education, to support or oppose candidates for public office, including presentation of political and/or campaign issues, announcing candidacy or campaigning, or to engage in commercial speech attempting to sell a service or product to the board or to the public. Nor is it a forum to address matters involving disciplinary actions of any kind, pending claims, complaints, or litigation against the district or district personnel. Also, public comment is not a forum to engage in personal attacks against the school system, employees, or board members. Statements made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes. duration, one designated group representative speaking on a proposition before the board will have a maximum of 6 minutes. No speaker may yield his or her time to any other person. Substitutions of speakers will not be allowed except in exceptional circumstances as determined by the presiding officer. Speakers shall direct their comments only to the board and may not address the audience or speakers or other speakers. This policy does not prohibit the board from maintaining orderly conduct or proper decorum in a public meeting. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Sanchez has provided a clear statement of the requirements for civility and decorum during the school board meeting pursuant to Board Policy 169.1. I would like to reiterate that the public comment section of this meeting is not a forum to engage in personal attacks, heckling, abusive comments, or verbal outburst in disruption of conducting an orderly meeting. Remarks must relate to the business of the district. Should a speaker persist in conduct in violation of board policy, the microphone will be turned off and the speaker will be instructed to step away from the podium. Everyone in this assembly is warned that failure to conduct oneself as stated may be removed. We will start with J.J. Holmes, followed by Allison Holmes, followed by Marjorie Murray.
All right, ready? Yeah. No, way. All right, good. All right. All right, you all right? It's on that. Is it? Where? Oh, there, okay. Ready?
Superintendent Beeman, members of the school board, my name is J.J. Holmes, and I support the students from Lyman. I was already going to talk about the bullying of the LGBTQ plus community before the board censored Lyman's yearbooks. Don't say gay isn't even the law yet, and you're already using it to target LGBTQ plus students. Tyler Clementi was 18 years old when he jumped to his death from the George Washington Bridge. He was outed by another student for being gay. Eli Fridgley was 12 years old when he died by suicide. Eli took his own life when he was told he was going to hell because he was gay. Channing Smith was 16 years old. He died by suicide after being outed on social media for being gay. Seth Walsh was 13 years old. He died by suicide after being threatened in the boys' locker room to hang himself from a tree in his backyard. Nigel Shelby was 15 years old and bullied every day about his sexuality. Nigel finally decided being dead was better than being bullied. The Trevor Project says LGBTQ youth are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. LGBTQ plus students in Seminole County are being erased in their yearbook because of school board policy. So how about the board erases the policy instead of erasing the students? Members of the school board, stop the stickers.
Order, please. Order.
At the last, Alderson Holmes, Longwood, real parent, don't homeschool, 2 kids, Seminole County Public Schools. At the last meeting, someone came up here and began his public comment saying, "Tonight I am representing the kingdom of Jesus Christ." You let him continue uninterrupted. So, as I sat listening to what can only be described as a very unchristian diatribe about the LGBT community, I thought to myself, why would the kingdom of Jesus Christ send an envoy like that to our school board meeting? A little bizarre, right? Then I thought, well, hang on a second. Was he really dispatched by the kingdom of Jesus Christ to represent them in public comments for 3 minutes? I thought, if only there was some way to verify his claim. And then my phone rang. I said, hello? Voice on the other end said, hello, Alderson, it's me, God. And no, the kingdom of Jesus Christ did not send him or anybody else to speak at the last school board meeting. I said, I knew it. So I said, you know, God, having someone like that claiming to speak for you down here is not a good look. God said, too true, Alderson. So here's what I want you to do at the next school board meeting. I want you to use your time to let them know that bigotry in any shape or form does not represent my views. Or Jesus's. I said, okay, but God, will they let me talk about you in public comments? And God said, absolutely. They let religion be brought up all the time. Heck, they've even let them come up and pray during public comment. I said, good point, God. So then I said, as your representative from the kingdom of God, is there anything else you want me to tell them? There's a long pause on the other end of the line, and God said, at your school board meetings, I've heard hate speech against Asian Americans, African Americans, LGBTQ Americans, disabled Americans, and many, many others. I've heard whining about masks, whining about vaccines, whining about equity, whining about Khan Academy, whining about who the board hires, whining about indoctrination, whining about CRT, whining about brain pop. They even whined about students having access to free dental care. God then said, I want the school board to stop the bigotry, stop the racism, stop the homophobia, stop religion being brought up, stop the stickers. Oh, and one last thing, and this is really important. Make sure they know the group who definitely does not represent my views are the Mums for Bigotry.
Ms. Holmes.
Order, please.
Good evening, Chair Pinnock and board members. I want to thank you for your service to our community and to say a special thank you to members Almond and Calderon, who served on the board during the time I administered federal education programs, VPK, and Great Start in Seminole. You were always there to support, to guide, and quite often to counsel. Thank you. You are appreciated. To the whole board, I am sorry that you have to sit here night after night as people parade to the microphone and yell at you over and over. Aside from the fact that you don't deserve to be treated like that, it diverts you away from the purpose for which you were elected to the board, to provide educational opportunities and pathways that help students be successful in life and become productive citizens. I would like to take this opportunity to respectfully ask you, or rather plead with you, to take back your school board meetings. In the past few months, I've attended school board meetings in 9 other school districts, and with the exception of one, none operate like the three-ring circus ours has become. There's a very vocal minority that use school board meetings as a forum to further a political agenda. Whether you as a school board member are a Republican or a Democrat, I really don't care. But I do care as a member of this community that you put aside political partisanship and you minimize the loud political clutter, and as a nonpartisan elected member of this board, focus on the real work. Here are some recent examples of your real work. I was in the store to pick up a cake when I was talking to the baker who shared with me that her daughter was in the ELL program and she didn't think she belonged there. She told me it was Minnie Cardona who helped her understand why her daughter needed to be in ELL and supported her through her journey. Now her daughter has graduated from college and works in the pediatric intensive care unit in a leading pediatric hospital. When my husband and I went out to dinner, the restaurant owners shared the story of their daughter in Sci-High and how her entrepreneurial project had awakened her to new possibilities and she couldn't wait to go to college. Or the father who shared that his son had finally found a place where he belonged when he started at Croons Academy. That is what your real work has done for our children and families in Seminole. If you don't put procedures into place to minimize this loud political clutter and get back to the real work, the stellar reputation Seminole has earned will be damaged. When parents from other parts of the state or nation discern where to relocate, they research the schools. Some even listen to your school board meetings. And I can't tell you the number of times I've heard recently the comments about these meetings. If families stop moving into Seminole for our schools, not only are parents missing out the opportunity in the best school district in the state, but economic development in our community will suffer and property values will decrease. People have a right to public comments, but please control it. The families in this community deserve it, and you deserve it. Thank you.
Ed Meesom,
Order, please.
followed by Meredith.
Ed Meesom, Winter Park. I want to talk about the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. The Lyman High School yearbook controversy was a difficult decision, but it seems to me that it was made more on the narrow legalistic approach, which I would call the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. Let me give you an example. The next words out of my mouth are profound. My ex-wife was an attorney, and we divorced pro se, which some of you may know that by ourselves. So when we first moved to Florida, I had a job and only one car. She was studying for the bar at the time, and we were driving around a corner and in the dark, and there was a man on a bicycle without reflectors or headlights, and he was wearing dark clothing, and I swerved to miss him. Luckily, there was no oncoming car. If there was, the decision would have been different. But as I got back into the lane and everything, my heart was doing this, and my wife turned to me and said, "You know, he could have got a ticket for that." Well, that's the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. I said he could have got dead from that. So in this case, the event wasn't sanctioned. Yes, the event wasn't sanctioned. I think that was a very narrow decision, a narrow way to look at it. But think about this. What the students were doing, there are precedents of other symbols, like what was the controversy in the yearbook and other, so that's happened before, so there was some precedents. And also, what were the students doing? They were practicing democracy, I would say. They were peacefully and respectfully assembling. Classes, I understand, weren't interrupted. And isn't that what we want to teach our students, how to be responsible and practical members of our society? So in the future, or maybe in this case, if it's not too late, consider more the spirit of the law, not necessarily the narrow letter of the law. Thank you.
Order, please.
Meredith C., followed by Moira C.
Good evening, board members. Superintendent Beeman. I would like to bring concern to the harassment of LGBT kids in school. More and more recently, censorship of LGBT youth has been occurring, although we've always been fighting an uphill battle. In June of 2015, same-sex marriage was legalized across the U.S. That was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, people like me weren't able to marry the person they loved. And in other countries still aren't. I think it's very important that today's youth understand the significance of bills such as the Don't Say Gay bill. However, we are being silenced. We are being attacked and ignored. In my school, Lake Howell, transgender people aren't allowed to have their preferred name in the yearbook, at graduation, or in any school-related activity as per the rules. However, Oviedo High acknowledges their trans youth and doesn't require the use of dead names. Lyman High is requiring their yearbook staff, who worked tirelessly all year on their yearbook, to censor the coverage of the Don't Say Gay walkout because it is against the rules. There is an inconsistency in the country, and it's destructive. Tonight has featured a lot of talk about connecting to students. We cannot all be connected if we are not protected in our schools. If the school board cannot solve a problem within individual schools, there needs to be a district-wide policy protecting our voices among other students and minorities. LGBT people are more prone to mental health issues and are more likely to commit suicide due to unwelcoming environments, including their own homes. Recently, a substitute in a class of mine that included trans and queer kids refused to call us by our names and instead dead-named everyone. When our class leader stood up for us, the substitute ridiculed us and shamed us for not appreciating the names we were given. We should not feel unwelcome in a place where we are required by law to be. I request the school board look into protecting the rights of us LGBT youth via a district-wide policy. LGBT people exist in the real world. We are living beings, not politics. We are real. If all lives matter, ours do too. Thank you.
Order, please.
Hello, SCPS board members and Superintendent Beeman. I am Moira Clare, the editor-in-chief of Wings Yearbook at Lake Howell High School, and I will be speaking on behalf of my yearbook staff. My years as a journalism student have taught me that the most important principles of reporting are to remain unbiased and to stay purely logical. For this reason, I will be speaking to you from a purely logical standpoint, omitting my opinion from my words. In an email sent to Lyman families, Principal Hunter stated that the distribution is being delayed because the content did not adhere to the board's policies regarding non-school sponsored events. Principal Hunter might be correct in asserting that the school didn't sanction this event. However, board policy P01242 states that students have the right to express their preference for political parties, issues, or candidates in any manner during school hours or at school activities held in school facilities. However, any such form of expression shall be subject to reasonable regulation by the school at any time that the student is acting as a representative of the school. The form of expression is disruptive to the school's education program, or the principal believes acceptance would result in disruption to the education system. When the protests first occurred, Principal Hunter embraced this policy of acceptance by permitting the events to happen. This poses the question, why did the school board feel the need to intervene now? The events had already occurred. The journalists were simply doing their jobs to report the facts of the day. One could even argue that by censoring the students' freedom of speech, the school board and Lyman High School administration have caused more disruption to the education process than a simple, quick walkout ever would. Another thing I'd like to point out in the use of the word reasonable. In the definition section of the SCPS board policies, there's no definition given for reasonable. Despite the lack of definition, it is not illogical to say that smothering the spread in stickers would be unreasonable. First, the school will have to purchase stickers. A bill would be costly, as there are 600 books to be covered. Secondly, the school will need to find people to place the stickers. I assume the school would not make the journalists cover the spread since it was Principal Hunter who let the spread get printed. Third, the school will have to find alternative methods to deliver the books to seniors. By the time the books have been covered with stickers, the senior students will have been deprived of the opportunity to have their books signed by peers. It is fundamentally unreasonable for the students and administration of Lyman High School to meet these demands. The simple, rational decision would be to distribute the books as they are. However, that is not my only rationale for defending the Lyman publication. The school board has set a precedent of not censoring non-school sanctioned events. In 2018, Lake Hall students organized on the football field to peacefully send support to students at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Students held signs that read, on NRA, "There is blood on your hands." Reinforcing that precedent, SCPS did not force the wing staff to plaster their books with stickers. A more relevant example can be found on growl.com, Lyman Journalism's website. On March 7th, 2022, 2 student journalists at Lyman published coverage on the Don't Say Gay walkout, the same walkout that is now being censored due to its violation of the board's policy.
Moira, are you almost finished?
I'm representing a group. I should have 6 minutes.
It's on agenda. It's not an agenda item.
Okay.
So it's 3 minutes.
Thank you for your
finish your statement, your sentence. And then please, if you would like to email board clerk, she will get your statement to all of us.
Okay, thank you. On March 7, 2022, 2 student journalists at Lyman High School published coverage of the Don't Say Gay walkout, the same walkout that is now being censored due to its violation of the board's policies. The statement issued by Principal Hunter is contradictory to his actions. If Principal Hunter truly believed the coverage in the yearbook was inappropriate, why didn't he stop the online coverage? A medium arguably more prevalent than yearbooks. Thank you for your time.
Please.
Emily Everett's, followed by Jasmine Cower, followed by Julia Squitieri.
Emily Everett. I'm here tonight in support of our LGBTQ+ students, staff, families, as well as in support of our Lyman High School yearbook staff. Frankly, I'm disgusted, I'm exhausted, and I'm disheartened that we have to continue to have this conversation with the school board. We've been having this conversation for over a year about recognizing and affirming our LGBTQ+ students and staff. It has continuously fallen on deaf ears of the board. While the board attends LGBTQ+ friendly conferences and listens to the very real statistics regarding very real youth that should push them into action, they come back after smiling for their photo ops and sit on the dais and proceed to do absolutely nothing to save our LGBTQ students. We've heard student stories of harassment from staff, other students, and have witnessed harassment from the audience. Seminole County Public Schools has a problem, and the problem is not having enough of a backbone to protect our at-risk youth who want nothing more than to live authentically. Not having enough backbone to stand up for what is right, not having enough of a backbone to look at our students that are watching at home, from the audience or beyond, to tell them that you see them, that you hear them, and that you value their life. Many families of LGBTQ+ students are too scared to come to these meetings and express the actual issues that their students are experiencing within the walls of your building. Can you blame them? At the end of the day, you cannot erase these kids from history, whether Lyman admin or the majority of this political body or the political body in Tallahassee wants to or not. You cannot erase them as human beings. Your silence is violent and is harming them more than you realize. Please stand up and act now to affirm our students. Thank you.
Order, please. Sure.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Carr, and I'm a senior at Haggerty High School. Today, I, alongside my peers, advocate for the revisions of the current Seminole County dress code policy. Just a few months ago, on my way to anatomy class, I was pulled aside by a school administrator under the concern that my stomach might show when I walk. While my anatomy class was beginning, I instead was downstairs in the student discipline office being asked to walk back across the room to see if my stomach would show as I walked. While my class was learning, I was being looked up and down. While my class was learning, I was being humiliated in the class right below. While my class was learning, school administrators were effectively telling me that my body was of greater importance than my intellectual contributions to my class. I did not see a single male-identifying student in the discipline office being dress-coded, and I believe it would be a very rare day that happens. I have the right to equitable access to education, and the current SCPS dress code is denying that. While the disproportionate enforcement against feminine students does go back to the policy itself, there is also a distinct enforcement problem that is inconsistent across schools. School officials should never have made me walk up and down in a line while they watched to see if my clothing was deemed appropriate. School officials should never have been disproportionately dress coding feminine students. School officials should never have taken away from my learning time because of what I was wearing. So as a student, I am here to ask the school board today, what are you going to do to address the issue of discriminatory enforcement of the dress code? My contributions in the classroom are of far greater importance than that of what I'm wearing. But the enforcement of the dress code seemingly disagrees and instead prioritizes what I am wearing. Today, I ask you all to act on behalf of the feminine students and the students of color who are being discriminated against, humiliated, and subjected because of what we wear, when all we want to do is learn. We are here to advocate for policy changes to the current dress code against any items of clothing that are most often worn by the gender over another, such as halter tops or tube tops, 2 items currently listed in the dress code as prohibited. But we are also here to raise serious concerns about the impact of discriminatory enforcement on students. We are here to advocate for action. Thank you for your time.
Order.
Squitieri, followed by Haley Donahue, followed by Sarah Ward.
Hello, my name is Julia Squitieri, and I am a senior at Haggerty High School. I am here today to address concerns about SCPS's current dress code policy and subsequent enforcement. Every student in this school district has the right to equitable access to education, but the reality deviates from this considerably. And the enforcement of the dress code all too often discriminates against feminine students, and especially feminine students of color. It is incredibly sad to me that when the dress code is enforced against a feminine student showing too much chest, her shoulders, or an inch of stomach, she is taken out of class and humiliated as she is dress coded. It is wrong to tell a 10-year-old that she is showing too much skin and that she must wait in the office while her parents bring her a change of clothing, because then school administrators are prioritizing her body over her education. So I ask why? Why is there such an intense and dominating focus on dress coding when it all too often the enforcement just takes away from class time? And in the face of a current dress code policy that lists out items of clothing predominantly worn by feminine individuals, the enforcement is targeting feminine students. Let them learn. Let these students learn without the fear that their bodies are too sexual. Let these students learn under their legal right to equitable access to education. Let these students learn because it is unethical to deprive one gender of class time while another partakes in learning time. No student asks to be told that they are dressed inappropriately because they are simply wearing what is in style or what was comfortable for them that day. All these students ask for is the fulfillment of their right to equitable education. We are here today to implore the school board before us to act so that more students are not pulled out of class and degraded as they are told what they are wearing is inappropriate. As a student, I ask the district to stop fixating on what students wear and start looking at how to improve equitable access to education. We will not have our right to learn free of discrimination trampled upon by an outdated and sexist dress code policy. So we are here to request reform of the policy language to remove all mentions of clothing items that are specifically worn more by one gender than the other, and to advocate for enforcement improvements. We implore you all to act on behalf of students' right to equitable education under Title IX, the Equal Protection Clause, and the Florida Educational Equity Act. But we are also here to look you all in the eyes and ask you, do you believe it is right to uphold a dress code policy that discriminates on the basis of sex? Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Haley Donahue and I am a senior at Winter Springs High School. I'm here today to voice my concerns about the current SCPS dress code. Title IX was passed in 1972. Title IX is a federal law that applies to all educational institutions that receive federal funding in the United States. It mandates that no person shall be discriminated against in educational institutions on the basis of sex, in accordance to the United States Department of Education Office for Civil Rights, 2015, paragraph 2. Recently, Title IX has been used in court arguments against dress codes which include gendered language. The Seminole County School Board has already amended their dress code to remove the use of the word cleavage from the policy, and we are incredibly grateful for that. However, the dress code, which is still in place, requires additional reform to mitigate issues of gender-based discrimination. This year, I'm graduating from high school, and I've spent a whole of my public schooling time in Seminole County, but I still have a very vivid memory of one teacher's actions to enforce the dress code. When I was in 8th grade, my first period teacher would have all of the feminine identifying students in his class stand up. We would have to put our arms at our side and stand there as he walked around the room, making sure each of us were in compliance. This was humiliating. This didn't happen to masculine identifying students. They were able to sit down, and he would only dress code them if their shirts had profanity on them or if their undergarments were showing in the hallway. They did not have to stand up and endure the insults and comments directed at 13 and 14-year-old feminine identifying students for their choice in clothing. I watched a classmate cry because she had been dress coded for wearing a tank top in Florida in September. This disproportionately affects individuals of color as well. In accordance with a study conducted by Alyssa Pavlakis and Rachel Rogman, individuals who are dress coded are disproportionately students of color, especially feminine identifying students of African descent. Students who identify as women of color, who made up about a little under 15% of the population surveyed, reported that 25% of students dress coded were women of color. I remember seeing a good friend of mine in the same class, a feminine student of color, get dress coded for wearing shorts that were longer than those of a masculine identifying student of European American descent. More often than not, the implementation of dress codes target feminine identifying students and students of color more than they target masculine students of European American descent. Further revisions to the dress code to remove gendered language or articles of clothing which can be viewed as gendered, mentions of chest, skirts, or dresses, or objects that are commonly used amongst and including certain races, such as one high school's inclusion of do-rags being banned, are revisions that are essential to maintain the equity amongst students in relationship to the dress code. Thank you for your time.
Order.
Good evening. My name is Seta Ward, and I am a junior at Lyman High School. I'm the current writing editor and rising editor-in-chief of the Greyhound Yearbook. We're taught that the most important part of spending hours and pulling all-nighters to make deadlines is that in 50 years, when students look at the book, they are reminded of all the memories and little moments of their high school years that made it like no other. This year, when they open the book, they'll see censored content. Every morning, Mr. Hunter reminds us that we are historic, we are diverse, and we are inclusive. By censoring the book, we are faulting the history of Lyman, the history of Lyman usually being diverse and inclusive. It's silencing the LGBTQ+ community and silencing the journalistic community. Our yearbook is student published and student funded despite being school owned and despite the technicalities of policy. We cannot take away that First Amendment right by not supporting the student press and the community as a whole. Why is our book being punished when two others, Haggerty and Oviedo's, aren't? What about our coverage encouraged the event? We must stop the stickers, and we must find a better solution, such as putting a message from Mr. Hunter, a message from the school board in it, stating that you don't recommend or suggest that you were sponsored the event. There's other solutions than covering it up. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time.
Order.
Maya. I can't read your last name, so I apologize. Go ahead, come on up.
Good evening. I'm Maya Gluck, and I'm a senior at Lyman High School, and I'm an editor of Lyman's High School yearbook. I'm a large supporter of all communities, especially the LGBTQ+ community, and of course, Lyman's yearbook. We as students have the First Amendment right to protest in the same instance as Tinker v. Des Moines. The Tinker Standard from 1966 states, school officials cannot censor student expression unless they can reasonably predict that the expression will create substantial disruption or material interference in school activities or invade the rights of others. We shouldn't allow our yearbook to be censored because that would be censoring our voices. This is a piece of history and Lyman's history. As a yearbook editor, I know that the yearbook staff put their sweat and tears into creating the yearbook. Years from now, people will still remember this joyous event in supporting the LGBTQ+ community. Other schools in Seminole County published the walkout in their yearbooks, so why should Lyman's be censored? For the walkout, we are expressing the true idea of friendship and inclusivity, for we are not endorsing violence in any way, but supporting the community itself. Censoring the material will not only be a disservice to the yearbook staff, but to the LGBTQ+ community. I ask and hope that a yearbook can be celebrated as a complete work and not be censored, and that students can always have their voice heard. Thank you for your time.
Order.
Susan Jenick.
Order, please.
Followed by Caden Bryant, followed by Harold Pomeranz. Susan.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't hear you over the applause. Thank you, Superintendent Beeman and Seminole County School Board, for having us here tonight. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Rainbow Seminoles to voice our concerns regarding the censorship of the Lyman High School yearbook, of the walkout opposing HB 1557. We were notified that the principal received an order from the SCPS superintendent to censor 2 photos in the yearbook that contain a pride flag, as well as the captions below them. The pictures used in the yearbook are part of an historical event that happened at the school in the course of the school year. I find it hard to understand the argument being that it wasn't a school-sanctioned event for a variety of reasons. Pictures of summer and spring break activities often grace the pages of yearbooks. Although Lyman's principal didn't sponsor the event, he did send an email out to the staff and teachers directing them to allow students to walk out and participate in this event. We've been informed that 2 other high schools have related content in their yearbooks, which is not being censored. The yearbook students accurately describe the protest as a walkout. Nowhere in the captions is a mention of this walkout being school-sponsored. Protest walkouts have previously been displayed in SCPS yearbooks, such as the 2018 walkout against gun violence. And this protest revolved around a bill that has to do with the educational system. We struggled to understand what could be more relevant than this to this high school's yearbook. Being told to specifically cover up the only 2 pictures with pride flags is a deliberate censorship. We cannot view this as anything but a targeted attempt to delete LGBTQ+ representation from an event that was purposefully protesting exactly that type of censorship. We ask that you consider why these students are repeatedly being told that they and what's important to them are not worthy. I implore each of you, as individuals, to take a beat, look into your heart and into your mind, and think for a second about the message that you're sending to these kids. This simply cannot stand. Respectfully, we insist that this censorship be reversed. These photos, as well as their descriptive captions, must be allowed and distributed in their original form as a vital part of recounting a critically important happening that took place this school year. Thank you.
Order, please. Order can be heard. Order.
Hello, my name is Caden Bryant, and I'm a junior at Oviedo High School. The walkouts all over Florida that took place in protest of the Don't Say Gay bill were part of history. I was at the one at my school a few months back, and it was nothing but empowering. I cannot explain to you how happy I felt to be fully seen and cared for, with students holding up signs, chanting, and encouraging real positive change. Despite what certain educators may claim, these events weren't something to hide or be ashamed of. This was a community of young people passionate about queer equality, taking a stand for what they believe in. And the job of the yearbook staff as journalists is to report the facts and document events. Michael Hunter cannot punish these students for simply doing their job. They were recording our history as it should be. Even if the board can't directly change the decision made, that doesn't mean that there's absolutely nothing you can do. All we're asking is that you hear us and try. This attempt at further suppressing the LGBTQ+ community may set us back, but it will not dampen our spirits. It will not silence us, it will not deter us, and it certainly will not stop us from fighting for equality. No matter how many speeches you childishly interrupt or ways you try to marginalize us, we will not stop fighting. So if no progressive action is to be taken, you will continue to hear speech after speech from me and the community until someone actually does something about these problems. And I am sick and tired of supposed adults interrupting literal minors who are brave enough to stand up here and speak. Though when it's the moms for bigotry speaking, they throw temper tantrums if someone even coughs. These bored housewives with nothing better to do cannot hold this double standard against us and not even be held accountable for it. It's sad, pathetic, and nearly comical that adults act this way while the students are the only ones who know basic manners. I'll be honest, I don't want to be here. I always leave with a headache after listening to all of the hate speech that no one stops, and quite honestly, I'd rather be at home taking a nap. But here I am anyway, because I need to be, because none of you are willing to put the effort into making the change that we need. So instead of that nap, I'm going to continue coming here until you all stop giving me a reason to. Thank you.
Order, please.
Wow. What are we all doing here? What are we all doing here besides being a living embodiment of the Streisand effect? I very much took to heart the statement before the public comments by the board that it was not in your bailiwick to make a decision on behalf of the administration of Lyman High School. But it seems to me that a statement by the school board denouncing the efforts of the Lyman administration to censor the yearbook is very much within your purview. It seems to me that what is within the purview of the school board is to rewrite the rules that the administration of Lyman High School are citing when they talk about censoring this yearbook. And it seems to me that it was very much within the purview of the school board is stopping the sheer waste of time effort, energy that's being spent around this issue. Can we just put an end to all of this? Can we just say, mistakes were made, let the books go? Give the seniors at Lyman High School an opportunity to share the distribution of the books with their classmates. Give the Lyman High School yearbook staff the opportunity to celebrate an incredible yearbook, possibly an award-winning yearbook, instead of having to deal with this issue of defacing and censoring their content. It seems to me that all of this is well within the purview of the school board. Mistakes were made. Let the books go. Thank you for your time.
Order, please. Order. Speaker.
Rich Zarda, followed by Faiza Jaffer, followed by Joseph D'Alessandro.
School board. So I'm the grandfather of 2 students at Lyman High School, and I'm here on their behalf and my behalf, and my wife's behalf, actually. You know, I don't know if you guys have even seen this yearbook. This is the yearbook, and it is impressive. I mean, it kicks butt. Look at this thing. I mean, it's got a front, 2 fronts and a middle cover. I mean, it's cleverly done. It's a work of art. It's a work of art. And this took these students and the staff, okay, of the yearbook, thousands of hours to put this together and get it published. And now, and I know it's not directly in your power, but I agree with the previous gentleman, you've got strength here to stop the defacing of this yearbook. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it. The cat's out of the bag here, guys. The cat's out of the bag. The Orlando Sentinel, Channel 2, Channel 6, Channel 13, Fox 35, Yahoo, the Washington Post about an hour ago, okay? Radio stations, trending Twitter, and all over Google you can get direction to those, okay? Images of this entire article are out. The whole article is out. So you're going to let them deface this yearbook? Oh my God. You can't do that. Now, I've heard the reason for the defacing of this yearbook is they broke school policy. And maybe the gentleman before is right. Just let this go, okay? But so did Oviedo and Haggerty broke school policy. Well, okay, so maybe that's not strong enough for you. You can't honor a non-school event. You can't let that happen by putting it in the yearbook. Well, the principal said that was okay. Yes, he said it was okay. He allowed the students to go to this event and participate in the event, and the year board staff documented it. So that was allowed by the principal. If you're going to put stickers on somebody, put them on him. But he's the only guy that's got some guts here, okay, in my opinion, with this, at least for making that stand. So I submit to you that I think this is about the Don't Say Gay bill. But, okay, maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe I've got that wrong. So whatever the reason
Can you wrap up your comments, please? Your time's up.
1 minute wants to do, give me 20 seconds, okay? There's a way to handle this. Put a 8.5 by 11 page 8.5 by 11, and stick it in the pages that you don't want, and let it say whatever you want it to say. That doesn't deface the yearbook. They can include stickers of how to put stickers on the page if some parent or student wants to deface their yearbook. Thank you.
Rich Zarda.
Order, please.
Rich Zarda.
That was me.
Oh, that was you? I'm sorry.
I'll go again.
No, we heard you. Is it Faiza Jafar? Yes. Okay.
My name is Faiza Jaffer, and I'm a junior at Lake Mary High School. First and foremost, I would like to extend my gratitude to have the opportunity to provide public comment today. The students in Seminole County and I know that we need to hold our school board responsible for maintaining a safe and fair educational environment. We have to change the current school district's gender discriminatory dress code. Male students can expose their shoulders without getting dress coded, but a female wearing a spaghetti strap cannot. This is one of many unjust experiences students in Seminole County go through. Not only do these experiences belittle feminine individuals, but they also take away crucial class time. The current dress code is only perpetuating the idea that their skin showing is more important than their education. One of the most common scenarios my feminine peers face is when they get sexually objectified based on their body type. One of my feminine peers was wearing leggings that would be deemed appropriate on most students, but because she had a curvy body type, the staff sexually objectified her. The current dress code conveys a sexist and inappropriate message to feminine students about their bodies and plays a significant part in the sexualization of feminine students, many of whom are young. The current dress code policy in Seminole County clearly is outdated and intentionally targets feminine students who are more likely to get sexually objectified. Especially as a feminine individual in 2022, it is crucial that we share our voice to advocate for gender equity. How long will students have to conform to this gender discriminatory dress code just so others do not get distracted? As Mary Tufts, a student who conducted dress code research, once said, "Young women are not a distraction to education. We are not just our body." Members of the school board, we are not asking for the eradication of the dress code altogether. That said, we clearly want policies that are unbiased towards one gender, that take into account identity development and cultural diversity. We want and need to be a part of this new dress code. This would ensure that policies are consistent for both genders and justly applied. In the end, it is our bodies that are abiding by the dress code, and students are demanding better of this policy. Thank you for your time.
Order, please, so we can hear the next speaker. Thank you.
Good evening. I will start by reiterating that I've been teaching for 12 years, and I put my heart, soul, sweat, and tears into being the best possible teacher I can be for my students and their families. I've spoken before about the crisis we face with our teacher shortages, as we still have nearly 5,000 vacancies that have not been filled throughout the state. It is estimated to be 9,000 by the start of next year. We have many unlicensed, uncertified, and grossly underqualified substitutes filling these roles. We can't hire great candidates because we don't have many to choose from. If we want new teachers to get quality support, we need to stop veteran teachers from flying out of the nest. Do we want high quality education for our students, or do we want to hide behind our graduation rate and pretend that a lack of experienced teachers did not impact our students and their educational experience? We must focus on actual policy and real legislation to fix this issue. I've spoken a few times to this board about Senate Bill 298 and House Bill 587. Bills like these would return power to county school boards to compensate teachers and address our shortage issue by getting rid of the over 20 ridiculous rules from the state about teacher compensation. However, those bills, unfortunately, as expected, never even made it out of committee in 2022 legislative session. One of the 8 main goals of Seminole County's strategic plan for continuous improvement is System Initiative F, Human Capital Management, which we heard about tonight, which states that they will build a highly effective performance-based organization by recruiting, acquiring, motivating, training, and rewarding a high-performance workforce. I'll remind you, I'm a highly effective teacher, a curriculum leader with a gifted education endorsement, and 12 years of experience, and I have the same salary as a first-year recruit, which hardly seems like the correct way to reward high performance, motivate teachers, or recruit new ones. The goal is on to state that the board will increase the 1-year and 5-year retention rates by 10%. I've heard many times from our board members that the problem with funding for recruiting and retaining teachers is with the state legislature in Tallahassee. But for once, I would like a straight answer from the school boards on the issue of teacher retention. Would you or would you not support a bill in the 2023 state legislative session that would allow you to use your funds more freely to retain veteran teachers? When I spoke with State House Representative David Smith, he told me via email on April 13th, quote, "I know all of the school board members quite well and have worked successfully with each on different issues. None have ever approached me to offer additional solutions beyond raising starting teacher pay. I had breakfast with 4 or 5 of them this morning. If you look at graduation rates around the state, I'd say Seminole County is doing pretty well," end quote. He has not given me a straight answer on supporting these bills or not, and he claims that none of you have ever spoken to him about these bills either. So we need school board members who actually follow through with their goals and advocate for their students, parents, and teachers by communicating effectively with our leaders in the legislature. We need parents and community members to hold our board members accountable and not let them or our state legislators off the hook if we really want to retain 10% of our veteran teachers. And thank you for your time, and also I support students and their right to free press and free speech.
Order, please.
Gretchen Hobkirk, followed by Olivia Booth, followed by Madison Kosler.
Hi, Gretchen Hobkirk from Lyman High School. So when I woke up this morning to see my school Lyman on the front page of the Orlando Sentinel regarding the yearbook and the censorship of the Don't Say Gay walkout, I realized that the fear that the LGBTQ community had regarding this law has already been realized even before it takes effect on July 1st. The damage of this law is the tone that it sets. It seems to signal that being gay is something bad or something to hide. I really believe this law affects middle and high school students more than the K-3 grades. The high school years are awkward teenage years when children turn into adults, and it's a time of self-discovery and learning how to express themselves. So it was extremely disheartening to hear the school board's decision to cover up the yearbook staff's documentation of the Don't Say Gay walkout. I understand that this reasoning was that the walkout was not a school-sanctioned event and that the district didn't want to appear as if they supported this protest. But that just doesn't make sense. The yearbook staff job is to record events in the school, both on and off campus throughout the year. There were pictures and quotes of students' opinions about all kinds of events, about the Ukrainian-Russian war, Free Britney, whatever it was. And these were not school-sanctioned events. Nobody felt the need to censor those opinions or worry that people may think that the school board may support those issues. So why was this decision made? What is the harm in quoting some students' opinions and showing pictures of rainbow flags and love is love? That page, I saw it. It was actually very tastefully portrayed in a very positive light. And documenting an event is not the same as supporting an event. The sad thing is that this law, this wouldn't have even become an issue if this law hadn't have come out. This law is doing exactly what it was intended to do, to cause chaos, fear, and stifle free speech. And even though you may not have intended it, what it appears to these students is that it was more important for the school board to appease a very small and loud group of people who don't agree with this viewpoint, versus allowing the LGBTQ community to have a voice and support their freedom of speech and the freedom of censorship. You guys do a wonderful job of allowing everybody to come in here and speak and get their 3 minutes in, even if they don't live in this county, even if they have kids in private schools. But now it's time to start prioritizing your students and start listening to their voices. Thank you.
Order, please. Next speaker.
Hi. Okay. Oh, gosh, it's kind of echoey. Okay. Hi, my name is Olivia Booth, and thank you for having us all here today. And I would like to talk to you about, you guessed it, the Lyman Yearbook. So I am a first-year, I'm in 11th grade. I'm a first-year staff member for the Lyman Yearbook. And me, along with 21 other very talented people, including our amazing editor and editors-in-chiefs, there's two, and our advisor have produced It's the Little Things, which is honestly a labor of love. So in brief, as you may know, we covered the Don't Say Gay But walkouts that happened at our school in two separate places. Both places, it was not the whole page, and was viewed in a very objective light. That is our job as journalists Our job as journalists is to report the facts accurately and objectively, to make sure, especially in yearbook, that people remember what happens, that it doesn't get erased like maybe not what you're trying to do, but that's what's happening. It is getting erased, and I am begging you to not let these students' lives not be remembered, because they may live on and live their lives, and it'll be great. But when they look back at the yearbook and they look back at those blank pages, they will know that they will not support it in their youth. As other people have mentioned, both Haggerty and Oviedo have sections in their yearbook in which the Don't Say Gay But walkout at their school was mentioned. And so in that, in like especially Oviedo's, it's like mentioned like walkout in big letters. So it isn't a hidden thing. It happened. We all know about it. It was statewide, and honestly, it's the way that kids can do this. The minute that Mr. Hunter was like, don't, like he in his email he said, don't stop them. Both for worrying for safety purposes, but it became a non-disruptive issue. It became students speaking out for what they believed in. It became an important moment for all of us to realize that our community is truly beautiful and truly, like, it's Lyman. So, as Lyman stands for its diversity, inclusivity, and historic impact on the community, and this is a historic moment in which Lyman students could be erased. And so I stand here to frankly beg you to not let these students be insecure in who they are, to not let these students not feel good about their community, and to not erase Lyman culture. Thank you for your time.
Addison.
Order, please.
Hi, I'm Maddie Kessler, and I'm speaking to you as a Lyman alumni, a college volunteer, and the photographer of these photos. I was there with the students. I was the person looking through the camera, looking through the lens. What is happening here is not inappropriate. It is not disruptive. It is simply students using their First Amendment rights, political speech, which is very protected, even if Lyman wants to say it's not. They're using their First Amendment rights, which is what we should be advocating for. We should be advocating for students to voice their opinions, and we should be uplifting students. By censoring them, you are cutting them down. You are fulfilling their worst fears that they were protesting against. They were protesting to be heard, to be seen, to be cared about, and to be told that it is okay to simply exist. By covering them up, you are telling them that that is wrong, to simply beg to be told it's okay to exist. I am telling you this as someone who was in the yearbook
From that point of view as well, there was so much love put into this. Students worked so hard, and they have been objective. They have done nothing wrong. They do not deserve to have their yearbook defaced by the school. Furthermore, they have been left out of all conversations. Regardless of being asked to be a part of this conversation, they have been shut down and not even been allowed to negotiate. If you're going to deface these kids' hard work and silence the students of Lyman High School, they should at least be able to sit in on the conversation. Maybe there are other options here than simply putting over stickers. And this is especially true because Lyman High School is not the only school in this county that is featuring this walkout. As it has been previously stated, Hagerty and Oviedo are featuring this walkout. However, when you look at their spreads, would you like to know the difference? The difference is, when you look at those pictures, you cannot tell that they are LGBTQ youth. You cannot tell what is happening. You have to read the context. And I do not think it is fair, personally, as a journalist, as an alumni of Lyman, and as a person in this community, that just because the Lyman students are loud and proud, that you should be covering them. So I beg you, as you have said, you cannot do anything to unchange this, but that is wrong. You can submit a statement, as it has been previously said. You can support the students. It is not too late to stop these stickers. I am begging you, as the person who was there watching the students. If you don't do this, it's not just about covering pictures. It is about hurting the people you're supposed to protect. Thank you.
Order, please. Order.
Danielle Pomeranz, followed by Ella Snyder, followed by Enoch Vargas.
Hi, I'm Danielle Pomeranz. I am the yearbook advisor for Lyman High School. And I also have two students that go to Lyman High School. And as my students know, I'm not someone who likes to be in the spotlight. I'm not someone who likes to get up and speak in front of the school board. But I am so proud of what my students have done here today and what they've done all week. And they've spoken with grace and with dignity, and they deserve to have their words heard. They deserve to have their the yearbook spread shown to the student body, and I feel like I must speak up on their behalf, and so that's what I'm doing here today. I also want to just kind of say, just in general, I'm just so impressed with all the youth here today. The students who are speaking up for the dress code are just amazing, and I'm just proud of them as a teacher, listening to them speak as well. As a yearbook advisor, I can tell you firsthand that our job is to document the events of the school. The students have said this. That's what we're here to do. We're not commenting on what we think of them. It's not a political statement. All we're doing is documenting what happened. This event happened, and it was a really wonderful event. And it went without controversy. You know, it was an event that many schools we talked about covered, and we covered it in our yearbook. It didn't even occur to us this was something not to cover, because we always cover big, important, historic events. Now we're told, well, I've heard multiple different things, and again, I haven't gotten to speak to you guys directly, but I've been told that one of the concerns was that it appeared possibly, there was an opinion that it was promoting the event, that our yearbook coverage was promoting the event. And I just want to say, if you read the captions, if you look at the photos, there's nothing in it that was promoting the event. It was documenting the event. That's all we did. And so if the language says it needs to be something that's promoting the event, I would ask you to really look at it more carefully. We didn't. We documented the event like journalists are supposed to do, like my journalists did. And they did their job. And all we're here to say is let the book be shown as it is. Don't silence my students. Don't silence their First Amendment rights. Don't silence our LGBTQ plus community, who don't deserve to be silenced here, who were speaking up against that. And I think that's, right now I just want to say, just to kind of sum up, It's a matter of opinion. Whether you think the event was promoted or not, it's really a matter of opinion. It can go either way. So if you have to make the choice, please make the choice on the side of not censoring students, not censoring their voices, not censoring the First Amendment, not censoring our LGBTQ plus community. We have the choice to do that. And I would appreciate your support. They would appreciate your support. I'm really proud of them, and so that's why I'm standing up on their behalf. Thank you.
Order. Order. Next speaker.
Hello. I am one of the co-editor-in-chiefs of Lyman's yearbook, and I'm actually the student that made the spreads in our yearbook that are in question. I wrote these captions, I interviewed these passionate students, and as student journalists, we have the right of free speech. And as a yearbook staff, our job is to objectively document the year, produce a product for the student body that is exactly what we did. We represent what is important to the students, and it just wouldn't be right to censor something that is important to so many students. The county is trying to censor the walkout of the Don't Say Gay bill, but they're being extremely inconsistent with the reason why. It is being claimed that the spread is not allowed because the students are shown breaking county policy, but there are other schools in the county that pictured the walkouts in their school as well. Hagerty and Oviedo also featured this and said that it was a walkout, which, according to the county, violates the school policy. But the one big difference is that their coverage doesn't have students holding pride flags like ours does. So why should our coverage not be allowed, but theirs should be allowed? At the walkout, the LGBTQ plus community was speaking out against the Don't Say Gay bill because they feel like as a community, this bill is trying to silence them. If we as a yearbook staff, as a school, and as a community put stickers over them, we are essentially silencing a community that is protesting being silenced in the first place. These stickers aren't on our yearbook yet, and we still have time to stop this. Let's be on the right side of history and stop the stickers. Thanks for listening.
Order. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Enoch Arocha Vargas, and I am lead photographer for Lyman's yearbook. And I am standing here today to let you guys know that during these events and while searching for answers, we were told essentially that this whole event was not a school-sponsored event, and that is why it was being censored. Furthermore, asking for more information, we got pointed towards the school policy manual, section PO 5722, titled School-Sponsored Publications and Productions, which says the following speech is unprotected and prohibited in all school-sponsored student publications and productions: speech that is defamatory, libelous, obscene, or harmful to juveniles, speech that is reasonably likely to cause substantial disruption of or material interference with school activities or the educational process, speech that infringes upon the privacy or rights of others, speech that violates copyright laws, speech that promotes activities, products, or services that are unlawful, illegal as to minors defined by state or federal law, and speech that is otherwise violates school policy and or Senate federal law. Furthermore, saying that this is the reason why we are being censored, and it is essentially saying that these pictures, which feature pride flags, are essentially defamatory, libelous, obscene, or harmful to juveniles, are featuring illegal products or things that are illegal to minors, or violates copyright laws, which essentially doesn't make sense at all, because all that it is showing is students fighting for what they think is right, fighting for their communities, and showing these flags. Furthermore, when asking for what else we could have done rather than stickers, we were told that there was attempts to essentially make remedies to the yearbook, and furthermore, those attempts have all been denied other than the stickers. We could have changed the captions to make them a bit less promotive if that was the problem, or many other changes, or the letters that we have mentioned before. But no, we decided to cover up these students and cover up what they're fighting for. And that just simply is not right. And the only difference, again, within this yearbook and other schools' yearbooks like Oviedo's and Haggerty's is the fact that we show students celebrating this occasion. We show students standing up for their communities and what they think is right. And saying that these pictures are these defamatory or libelous, obscene, or harmful juvenile things that we're featuring in comparison to the other books that aren't being featured is just outright wrong. But that's all we can do, and I ask of you guys to support us and help us stop these stickers from going onto our books. Thank you for your time.
Order.
Guy, followed by Dan Smith, followed by Gabriel Gomez.
Hi, my name is Sky Tiedemann, and I'm one of the co-editor-in-chiefs of Yearbook. What does that make me? That makes me a journalist. And as a journalist, my job is to document what happens at our school. And that's simply what we did. And even more so, we documented something that was just so special to everyone. I personally was at the event, and it was just such like a happy environment to be in. Everyone was just so passionate. There was nothing wrong whatsoever. And I mean, clearly, these students, like, this means so much to them. And for us to cover it, that's disrespectful to them. I went to the GSA club meeting and had the chance to talk with some of the kids that were pictured in the pictures. And they said that they felt disrespected and silenced, and that's not okay. We have to stop the stickers. Also, the yearbook is something that lasts forever. It's something that 50 years from now, we're gonna look back on. And like I said before, this event was so powerful and something that, I mean, we talked about it for weeks. We still talk about it. And I guarantee that we want to be able to look back on this in 50 years. We can't cover this up. I feel like there are better solutions to stickers, like a waiver, anything. Just please, don't stop the stickers.
Order.
Do stop the stickers.
Order.
Dan Smith,
Order, please.
Good evening. My name is Dan Smith. I am a resident of Longwood, Florida in Seminole County. I am also employed by Seminole County Public Schools. I'm a teacher in the district. I am presently the president of the Seminole Education Association. However, I want to let you know I'm not speaking for the teachers tonight. I am speaking just for myself, and well, I'm speaking for the Bill of Rights. I am referring to the district censorship of Lyman's yearbook. I do have to have some concerns with that. I do realize the protest wasn't sanctioned by the school nor the district or the governor, but the district did allow the protest. Now, I attended the protest at Lyman. It's close to where I work, and I had some time off, and I wanted to hear the voice of our young people in where they're standing as advocacies. Now, I was there for about 30 minutes, and it was well done. There was no campus disruptions. Not really anything that I could see of compared to the usual disruptions that I see on campus on a daily basis. They were standing up for themselves, they were standing up for their peers, and they were standing up for the First Amendment rights. So for the district to allow students to peacefully assemble and petition their government for redress of their grievances and then turn around and prohibit the free speech is kind of a mixed message, and that is not a best practice when working with any of our children. These students shouldn't be censored. They should actually be celebrated for what they did and what they chose to do. The yearbook itself passes the Tinker standard with no substantial disruptions happening, and it does pass the Hazelwood standard as well, considering that there's no reasonable education purpose to censor the yearbook at all. The yearbook itself is a chronological count of the 4 years that they have in high school. Many things are sanctioned, some things aren't sanctioned, but using stickers for stickers specifically sent to the yearbook is really just a step up from paper bag over it, and we're treating it like pornography, and that's really not the intent of what they should be doing. The protest happened, and it was done peacefully, and it was not against a war halfway around the world, but it was about a war that was happening right here in Florida. We have students who are standing up for others who have skin in the game because our LGBTQ students are being targeted by their government. Censorship's the beginning of the end. These students are heroes. Please, please celebrate them and don't censor them. Survey the people who purchased them, and let's give them a sticker to put it on there if they want to do it or not. Similar to your ruling for the masks in the beginning of the year. Make it optional. If people want to put a sticker on it, put a sticker on it. If they don't want to put a sticker on it, they don't put a sticker on it. But don't take the work away from these children that worked their whole year to do this. Thank you for your time.
Order. Order, please.
Gomez.
Next speaker.
Good evening, Superintendent, Chair, members of the school board. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Gabriel. I'm here on behalf of State Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith, who represents the Winter Park area, East Orlando, and UCF. So these are his words, not mine. I write to you today in support of a brave group of students who participated in a protest at Lyman High School earlier this year, and out of my concern for the school's apparent decision to censor this important moment from the school yearbook. All across our state, students exercised their First Amendment right to peacefully assemble in opposition to the hateful and misguided HB 1557, known as the Don't Say Gay bill. LGBTQ allies and advocates around the country watched as Florida students took the protection of their civil rights into their own hands. Students of all ages walked out of their classrooms to send a message to their state government. LGBTQ Floridians will not be erased. By attempting to cover up photos of this pivotal moment in the school year, we are now seeing the inevitable consequences of what students feared the most about this bill's passage: the censorship and erasure of LGBTQ identities and experiences from our public schools in all grade levels. Unfortunately, this decision may embolden the angry cadre of anti-LGBTQ adults seeking to intimidate schools from showing solidarity with an already marginalized and vulnerable population of students. That's why I respectfully urge school administrators to reconsider their decision to suppress this content from publication. It is with deep respect and gratitude for your service to the community that I urge you, the Seminole County School Board, to publicly address this issue and ensure we do not send the wrong message to Seminole County's LGBTQ students and families who are a healthy and normal part of our society and our schools. We should celebrate our diversity, not censor it. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
Order, please.
Michelle Pettinger, followed by Jessica Tillman, followed by Nina Sandberg. Michelle Pettinger.
My apologies, I had to rush to get a charger in the back there before I lost my words. My name is Michelle Pettinger, and I have the honour of representing the Seminole County Council PTA here this evening. As an advocacy association that represents all children, we must listen, educate, and advocate for all children. The PTA believes that equity drives our mission, and we continually learn and adapt in a landscape in which unforeseen crisis can affect our children's families and communities. We seize opportunities to build and share new models and ways of working on behalf of children. To embody and live this, PTA volunteers and staff must prioritize and advocate for innovative, sustainable solutions that work for a diverse range of children and families, especially underrepresented or marginalized communities. We must persist in the face of challenge and hold ourselves and partners, including educators and policymakers, accountable. So in the spirit of that accountability, we as PTA are asking for Seminole County Public Schools to find a way to let our students use their voices for important issues that are affecting them. Yearbooks are important for our youth to remember friends, activities, and major life events in their high school years. Our students at Lyman High School dedicated 2 pages in the yearbook to their advocacy. It's impressive and commendable. Students have seen the need to support our LGBTQ+ students, staff, and community, and are proud to use what they've learned in civics to make positive change. Our students are aware of public concerns, and as a school district, we should be helping them feel good about themselves and the work they've done. Covering up the 2 pages celebrating their hard work hurts them, those they've advocated for, and the people in the community that they were supporting. Obliterating the content rather than adding perhaps a small, very small label indicating that it was not school-sponsored would have been an idea. But as soon as our children are born, we as parents start worrying about their safety, happiness, and education. And part of that education is being an active member in society. How do we do it? We give them history, sociology, government, civics. We teach them right from wrong, tell them to share, not to bully. And most of us also tell them to speak up for others. We expect our children to grow up and be kind, take care of each other, and speaking up for what they think is right. And it's not something we should cover up, but instead celebrate. We all have different opinions on everything these past few years, but one thing we can all agree on is how important it is for our children to be happy and feel heard. This is a perfect example of one of the times we need to stop reacting and think about the student's perspective. They worked hard on the yearbook content, and adults they trust are telling them what they want or say does not matter. We have to do better as a society, as people, families, and as a district. Thank you very much.
Order.
Jessica Tillman, followed by Nina Sandberg.
Good evening, Board. My name is Jessica Tillman. I am speaking on behalf of Moms for Liberty, Seminole County. I'm speaking on agenda item AA. It's parliamentary authority of the board. This policy is on your agenda, and you're changing the wording from the parliamentary authority is no longer governed by the school board, governed by Robert's Rule of Order by the school board. It's now only guided. So I have to question why you decided to change this policy. I know that you said that you use Neola to guide your policies, but I feel like you should maybe retake a look at this policy. And I feel like this is a very slippery slope of you are no longer held to a rule of order. So if you're using guiding as your wording, then you have now made up your own rules. So you can just willy-nilly and just say, well, this is how we're going to implement this rule now. So I really wish you would reconsider this policy. I also would like to speak on agenda item AH, which is the comprehensive health education policy. I actually liked quite a few of the changes within this policy. I like that you added age appropriate for developmentally appropriate for K through 12. I like that you added human trafficking and sexual abuse and things of that nature. But I would like to point out that you've removed evidence-based and medically accurate in 2 places in this policy, so I really wish you would reconsider this policy as well. We really need to stay at it medically accurate and evidence-based. It's really important for the district to make sure that we are representing accurate education for our students. And I'd also like to see this policy and this curriculum brought up to a committee, like one of the board members did request in the April 5th board meeting regarding the curriculum for this policy. I like that you kept the, the awareness of the benefit of sexual abstinence in the policy. That's really important too. That is a state statute. They encourage you to continue to speak abstinence even after a student has a child. You still are supposed to encourage them to remain abstinent. So I'm really would like you to reconsider some of the language in this policy. I should be getting 6.
Sure.
Thank you.
It only sets for 3 minutes, so
Okay,
she reset
okay,
you.
Thank you. So I really do like the language in part of this policy, but I really would like you to revisit the evidence-based and the medically accurate section of the policy. I also sat through the workshop this afternoon, and I like that you guys were discussing how to get veteran teachers better pay. I think that going to our legislators with bills and suggestions is a really great idea to support our veteran teachers. I'd also like to see you did have discussion on supporting all staff members, not just teachers. So that was great because the bus drivers, the custodians, cafeteria workers, they all deserve pay too. I also, I really like the NEST program. So that's a really great program. I'm really pleased to see that one too. We do have some really amazing teachers in this district, and they really do need supported. I would like to bring up the material that was distributed to teachers at Sable Point Elementary. When a parent brought it to the district's attention, the concerns were not addressed. They didn't tell the parent where the were the materials removed, who distributed the materials, and was this done at other schools also. So we'd like answers for that too. I don't know if you responded to them in the last hour or so, but last I heard they had not gotten answers on that. But instead, you confirmed that not all teachers received the materials, and also who provided the parents. So you were asking the parent to basically tell you who told them about the materials. So I don't think that that's appropriate. Teachers are not, they don't feel that coming out with certain materials is going to be supported. So if they're going to be reprimanded, they're not going to come forward. So if we're supporting all of our teachers, we don't need to know which teacher brought this forward. We need to know what's being done to correct it. I also know that the restorative practices policy is coming up. This program started in 2017 and has slowly moved into more schools across the district, and I am aware that it's supposed to be rolled out to all SCPS schools next year. So I'd really like you to look at that curriculum of that program because it's a little bit concerning. The parent that brought this to my attention is pulling her students out next month or next year because of this restorative practices. I'm pretty sure it's coming up in the next 3 months in the agenda, so I'm sure it's being discussed now, but please look at the restorative practices program. Thank you.
Nina Sandberg, followed by Kenneth Bentley.
Order, please.
Followed by Emma Stenoff.
I'm Nina Sandberg. Public comments need to stay in the video records of SCPS school board meetings. They should not be removed under any circumstances. The constitutional rights of the citizens must be respected, and government in the sunshine must continue with regards to public comments. You are not supposed to be allowing other public speakers to insult me during public comment. I am not a Moms for Bigotry. I am a Jew who has experienced all kinds of anti-Semitism in Seminole County as a minority person. My son ordered an Oviedo High School yearbook. I don't care if it has photos of the protest in it. I have much more important things to worry about, like food and gas prices. This is not worth even arguing about. Let the Lyman High School yearbook go out as it is without any stickers. It is First Amendment protected journalism, and it is school news. A Moms for Liberty mom is telling you that. I would like to stop being called names. You had so many operational issues this year that Lyman High School yearbook is the least of your problems. The LGBTQ plus kids do not have a monopoly on being bullied, teased, ridiculed, threatened, etc. Both of my children's schools became combat zones full of bullying and violence this year. All kinds of students were victimized. Some students were beat up at school and some were injured. Drugs are back in our schools now. Vaping is ramping. You have violence, bullying, fights, drugs, vaping, occasional weapons, and all kinds of problems in our schools. Some students went without proper instruction in some courses for weeks this year because they didn't have a teacher. There was inadequate staffing this year at every position. So we have big operational problems. I don't care about the yearbook. Let it go the way it is. You really need to be investing time and money in anti-bullying education for all middle and high school students. It should be done in August. The special needs students are one of the most marginalized groups in SCPS. Who stands up for them? My own son was ruthlessly bullied inside of an SCPS school for months. I couldn't get the school board to stop it, and an actual employee was trying to drive him to suicide. That employee still works in SCPS and has bullied other students. Even some employees need anti-bullying education in SCPS. You need to do anti-drug education in the middle and high schools too. It needs to get done. We are in the middle of a deadly fentanyl epidemic. These kids can take one single pill disguised as something other than fentanyl and they're dead. You need to be educating them completely. You really need to bring back DARE, and you need to bring back DARE for grades 1 through 12, some form of it. Everybody needs DARE education. The other thing is that this place has become way too political. It needs to become politically neutral, needs to be nonpartisan. We can't have all these politics. I feel very uncomfortable with the partisan politics all the time. Thank you very much.
Kenneth Bentley.
Good evening, Superintendent Beeman and board members, also the attorney. I'm here for my long process that I've been doing, advocating for history, not just any kind of history, African-American history, black history, and I would challenge all the board members and other people in the audience just to take a quick drive around Sanford. Sanford has changed. There are really no predominantly black communities anymore, and that's wonderful. We want everybody to live together, play together, and work together, but we have to teach black history. It's no shame in black history. If something happened in 1865, you didn't do it. You were born in 1950, 60, 70, 80, and 90, so that's not on you. That's not on anybody in this room tonight, but I'm really advocating that we have black history in middle and high schools, and have it required. Don't have it as an elective, because some kids will take it and some kids won't, and they need to know the history. If you don't know the history, you don't know the past, and you don't know where you're going in the future. Also, I want to commend school board administrators. You do something that you might think is small, but it's big to the community. We have an East-West Side community meeting every month at the Velma Hayes Williams West Side Community Center, and we can count on somebody from this district office being there, whether it's the superintendent, deputy superintendent, Mr. Rice or Ms. Faison. That's big in the community because you show people that you care. They see that you're also a stakeholder, and as somebody mentioned earlier, they know that you got some skin in the game. So continue to do that. And I also want to give a shout out to the wonderful principal at Crooms Academy of Information and Technology, Dr. Hanshaw. Sanford has a committee. It's called the REAL Committee. That's Race, Equity, Equality, and Inclusion. And we had a Sanford Speak episode at his school 2 weeks ago. It was wonderful. It was wonderful, and we got people to come to the Goldsboro community that had never been to Goldsboro. They knew what an auto train was, but they had never been to Crooms. So we got people to just see that you're going to be fine. We want inclusiveness. We want inclusiveness, and you heard that all night tonight. And I just want to tell these young kids, you are dynamite. You are dynamite speakers. You're going to go a long way in life, and you're starting out right, 17 and 18 years of age. But also, I want to give another thanks to Seminole High 9th Grade Center. The principal, Jamie Washington, allowed some men to come on campus this year. A lot of people complain about how bad the kids were. So we said, well, let's do a Dads on Duty program. And she allowed it, and it's wonderful. We're rock stars at the Edward Blackshear 9th Grade Center. And we're going to take the same program to other schools and also get on the main campus. But we got tired of hearing people say, well, the kids are bad. Well, do something about it. So we did something about it. The barbershop conversation, Goldsboro front porch, and other interested men. And none of us have any kids at that school. We just letting you know we got skin in the game. Thank you once again. Continue to do what you're doing. And it's a fight that we all have to fight together. We all have to be in this together. Thank you.
Order.
Emma Stanoff.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. My name is Emma Stenoff, and I'm a senior at Lake Howell High School. I know that Representative Escamani already sent you her heartfelt letter today, but I would like it to be part of this record, so I would like to share it here. Representative Escamani says, Dear Seminole County School Board members, I am incredibly disappointed to hear that the advocacy for marginalized communities will be erased from the Lyman High School yearbook, and that this decision is apparently due to a school board policy. To be clear, students have a First Amendment right to express themselves as they did across the state and at Lyman in opposition to the bill that was being debated before the state legislature. Students were empowered to craft a yearbook that reflects their lived experiences of the academic year and did so with professionalism, sharing a piece of history on Lyman's campus, one that should be reflected upon, not censored. It should be noted that pages 110 and 111 of the yearbook, other forms of student advocacy are highlighted, including on issues like environmental justice, mental health, cyberbullying, and homelessness. My understanding is that in 2018, images from student walkouts in response to gun violence was not censored. Your decision to censor only LGBTQ+ advocacy sends a message that you consider issues of student equality to be inappropriate and unworthy of recognition. This is a dangerous precedent to set. And in case you need the refresher, LGBTQ youth are more than 4 times likely to attempt suicide than their peers. We need to support all students, not make those already marginalized feel unvalued and disrespected. Please reconsider the decision and let students express themselves and show their support for their peers. I would also like to add that as a young woman of color who is also part of the LGBTQ+ community, I unfortunately am not shocked by the censorship of the Lyman High School yearbook. And as a graduating senior, I would like other and future students to continue to be represented in historical records. In reference to the Don't Say Gay bill, I would like to add that as an elementary student, I didn't even know what gay was, and I especially was never exposed to anything inappropriate. Censoring the Lyman High School yearbook tells young people, specifically school-age minors, that something is wrong with them. Thank you for your time.
Order.
Andy Stenoff, followed by Kim Finnegan.
Good evening, Chair Penick, Vice Chair Sanchez, board members, and Superintendent Beeman. I'm Sandy Stenoff, and I represent the Opt Out Florida Network. I am addressing third grade achievement this evening. I'm requesting 6 minutes, please. We advocate against the use of high-stakes test data that harms students, teachers, and public schools. We advocate for a return to more meaningful teaching and learning in our public schools. Every public school teacher knows that third grade is the high-risk, high-stress year. Third graders are 8 years old. The test is so stressful that the state has actual policy for how to handle vomit on tests. On their little 8-year-old backs are promotion decisions, teacher evaluations, and school grades, which determine school funding and even real estate values. The stress rolls down onto their little backs from the district to principals, to teachers, to students. It's too much. We are still testing, but some parents are already being notified that their third grader might be at risk of not being promoted because they may be at risk of not passing the FSA or the alternative assessment, which doesn't mean that they can't read. Many students are wonderful readers and also poor test takers. Schools are compiling test portfolios using iReady or the state's bank of test items to serve as good cause exemptions to ensure promotion. While this could be seen as proactive because the stakes are so high, it is piling on more testing onto little 8-year-olds who have the weight of possibly failing the FSA all year long. Furthermore, the state's test bank items are not always fully aligned to the standards, and many children fail. It is worse than the actual FSA. In the opt-out community, we advocate for an authentic portfolio of classwork, projects, assessments completed in school all year long. If the district does not trust that this body of work fully represents the standards, that's a serious discussion for another day. Seminole's progression plan does not list any specific tests, nor does it preclude the SAT-10, the Stanford Achievement Test, one of the 8 state-approved alternative assessments. The district's progression plan also includes a student portfolio and a report card. Yet, SCPS does not regularly utilize the SAT-10 as an alternative assessment for good cause exemption. While it may be available, most parents are unaware of it. I don't believe that any school wants to retain children who do not demonstrate a reading deficiency. Parents continue to tell us, however, that rather than subject their children to more testing over the summer school if they don't pass, they're prepared to withdraw their children, to put them in private school, or to homeschool until through 4th grade, and then to re-enroll them in 5th grade. Others are prepared to withdraw them, to register them as homeschoolers, to have the SAT-10 administered privately, and re-enroll them in 4th grade in August. This is a lot of needless contortion for families. Parents in this situation feel cornered, and this isn't good for the district. According to numerous 3rd grade teachers across the state, the SAT-10 has shorter reading passages, is more closely aligned to standards than any of the approved alternative assessments, uses more appropriate vocabulary for 3rd grade, and does not utilize test distractors or trick questions. It is the standardized test most elite private schools rely on for placement. The teachers say that of all the state-approved assessments, it is the most fair and appropriate assessment for 3rd grade students. For the past 2 years, our schools have been burdened with serious mental health issues for students and all SCPS employees, including administrators, teachers, and support staff. For children who fail the FSA, I am suggesting strongly that the SAT-10 be more readily available, because although it is one more test, it is a preferred assessment of teachers. Please give this assessment upon return of test results to the children who fail the FSA, because 60 days must pass before it can be administered again. If a child fails the SAT-10 at the end of the school year, they can take it again before school starts back in August to ensure promotion. For many years, SCPS has used the SAT-10 as a last resort. I am asking you to move it to preferred status. Please have leadership officially inform principals and 3rd grade teachers that this test is available to their students, may even be preferable for students who have a hard time succeeding with iReady or the state's test bank. This would relieve families of a lot of unnecessary stress. I would also like to take a minute to add that my daughter, who is here with me and who is about to graduate from Lake Howell High School, has never taken the FSA, FCAT, or any iReady in her 13 years of school. She has been advanced by state-approved alternative assessments, by the transcript of her work each year, and by the professional recommendations of her public school teachers, as all children should be. I would like to express my deep gratitude to Principal Howard and the truly stellar teachers and staff who have been a part of our village at Lake Howell High School. Go Silverhawks. Thank you.
Order, please.
Finnegan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As a board, you have heard a great deal about a great many issues over the past 2 years, and I'm betting most were far outside the norm of what you'd come to expect at school board meetings. Masks, CRT, social emotional learning, the evils of brain pop. I've spoken here on several of these issues in the past, and most of the time I've spoken as the veteran educator that I am, trying to help you keep your focus on those whom you were elected to help guide, the students, all the students. But tonight I'm not speaking as a teacher, at least not fully. Tonight I'm speaking as a proud parent of 4 diverse and amazing children, 2 of whom have graduated from SCPS, 1 of whom will graduate in just a few weeks, and 1 more who will do the same next May. And it is as a mother, a parent, that I will address one issue that I didn't mention at the start of my remarks: the recognition of our LGBTQ+ students as visible, important, and equal members of our community who are fully deserving of the same compassion, understanding, validation, and recognition as any other student in our school system. We heard some of the tragic results of bullying of LGBTQ children from J.J. Holmes earlier. Based on many of the remarks I've heard from adults, parents, at nearly every board meeting regarding the LGBTQ community, it doesn't take a great leap in logic to understand where these bullies likely get their understanding or lack thereof of LGBTQ kids. Well, I'm a mama of 2 LGBTQ kids, and when I hear individuals saying things like allowing the board to acknowledge Pride Month as abhorrent opens the door wide for teaching kids about gay sex, or that simply honoring a student's stated gender or sexuality is met by disgusting accusations of groomer by those who clearly don't understand the true meaning of that word, I am angered and saddened and disgusted. This venom, this ignorance is not just being directed at anonymous children, which is bad enough, but they are talking about my kids, my babies, have to hear people in their own community talk regularly about how abnormal, weird, or disturbing they and their feelings are in the eyes of those ignorant to the truth. These are just kids. They are not deviants. They are kids. They are not following a trend or choosing a lifestyle. This is simply who they are, just that. So with all that negativity and the vile assumptions and efforts to blot out all mention of their existence, what is the harm in posting a simple Happy Pride Month on the SCPS website this June? No one seemed to have a problem with May the 4th be with you being posted all over the SCPS info page last week. Doesn't seem like it changed people into Jedis overnight or made them into instant Star Wars fans. The curriculum hasn't suddenly adopted a full-on Star Wars focus because of the acknowledgement of a specific group. So please, stop bending to a small group of parents, some of whom don't even have kids in SCPS. Show my LGBT kids that you care about them just as much as their straight peers. Which brings me to my final point. Dang it. All those wonderful kids, they have parents, many of whom are like my husband and me, who love and support all our children equally regardless of their orientation, who want them to learn all they can in school, want them to have access to full knowledge and understanding of their country's history, all of it. We want our kids to learn about the existence of all kinds of people, to learn how to interact with them and maybe even gain a little insight into those with different views or lifestyles than their own. Parents who, by law, also have protections under Florida's parental rights and education law.
Will you please wrap up your statement?
Last sentence. So if my child's education is negatively impacted by the fears of a handful of closed-minded individuals, fueled by the lack of fortitude of the board or county administrators to stand up for the teachers and students they represent, I know where to direct my formal complaints, and so will others. Thank you.
Cheryl Bryant.
Order to allow the names to be heard.
Cheryl Bryant, followed by Trinetta McClinton.
I'm going to abstain. Let them have their...
Okay. Trinetta McClinton.
Good evening, members of the school board and Superintendent Beeman. I've listened. I've come to most of the meetings. I've heard scriptures read. I've heard the prayers. I've heard everything. I'm just here to, as a parent, to ask for a curriculum that is inclusive for all students. When I say all, what does that mean? All, by definition, means the whole. All meaning black, white, brown students. All meaning Muslims, Jews, and Christian students. All meaning lower class, middle class, and upper class students. All meaning straight, bi, gay, disabled, any student. All is inclusive. We need to have a curriculum within our county that includes all of our students. That also includes Black history. You cannot write history without Black history. So we need curriculums within our county that show and celebrate everyone. When we talk about the books, banning of books, the censorship of the yearbook, the whole CRT foolishness, we need to think about our kids. I agree with Christian of the Washington Post when she said in response to the CRT accusations across the nation, don't be fooled. The retaliation against CRT shows that parents have no idea what students are learning and that their protests are less about education and more about a projection of their own biases and fears. All of these issues that we've heard tonight seem to be rooted in someone's fears. School board members, please, I beg you, get back to what's best for our students, all of our students. Our students need you. The parents, we need you. We need you to focus on providing our students with quality education rather than providing a stage for foolishness during meetings. Thank you.
Order.
That ends public comment. I do want to make two statements to the students who have come to address the dress code. That policy has been under review by the staff and is coming to us at a work session on 5/31. So I wanted you to know, if we've not communicated with you well enough, that that policy is being reviewed. I hope that you can attend that work session so that you can get some more clarity on the changes that are going to be done. And then I would like to also clarify, we are the governing board of this organization, and we set policy, and we delegate the operations of the school district to the superintendent. I'm very thankful that you all have come out and spoke. These decisions were not made. We don't make these decisions at the dais, and it was not made at the dais. And I would just like to request that the superintendent and her staff please revisit and come up with a alternative solution that protects the sanctity of journalism and free speech, that also doesn't violate our policy. But if you would please revisit and come up with an alternative solution.
And if I might respond?
Absolutely.
Okay. Want to first of all outline, listen to all of the voices here tonight. The school board's policy does authorize the administration to engage in prior review and, where appropriate, prior restraint of school-sponsored publications. Our yearbooks are school-sponsored publications, and they are not public forums. And therefore, there's some speech that is prohibited, and that includes speech that is likely to cause substantial disruption or that materially interferes with school activities or the educational process. And while students may address matters of interest, both the style and the content of the school-sponsored student publications can be regulated. And in fact, your policy requires school officials to routinely and systematically review and, where necessary, to restrict the content of school-sponsored publications such as yearbooks. And as you all know, the student-led protest that occurred this school year, that's been the topic of much debate across all of our emails, across all of our campuses, and here at our school board meetings. And even though the schools and the district made clear that the protests were not sponsored, endorsed, and that in fact when dealing with the protests, our focus was on making sure that our campuses remained safe, that our students remained safe. The school's role still has been confused by many in regards to those protests. And the Lyman High School yearbook, that section that is at issue, did not make it clear that the student protest was in fact student-led, not supported or endorsed by the schools or the district, and instead it left the opposite impression. I want to be clear to each and every student that this was not about the Lyman High School administration looking to try and target any student, to try and silence any voice. This is instead a situation where there was an issue that was not caught earlier in the required review by the administration, and that once that review process became clear, and once the issue became clear, the administration was moving forward and trying to get the students the yearbook in a manner that is timely. The principal wanted to make sure all of the students had the yearbooks in time for the celebrations at the end of this year, including the graduations, and having the opportunity to share that with the student body. So a cost-neutral, timely remedy was what was reviewed, and that was what is in place for distribution of the Lyman High School yearbook. The stickers were ordered. This is, and again, this is not something that has not been done before. It is not something that was aimed at any particular group. This was administration doing what this board charges it to do, reviewing it in compliance with the policy and trying to remedy it in a way that provided to the students the book in a timely manner to move forward. So that is what has occurred. The stickers are here, and the administration is hopeful that they will be applied in a way that the students can have them, starting with the seniors, by tomorrow, and the remainder of the student body this week.
Member Almond.
Chairman, I have a question. Ms. Beeman, we heard that Haggerty High School and Oviedo High School also had similar pages, and are they in compliance?
We will certainly review all of those. This topic here, and what, as you all know, this is not something that happened today or yesterday. This has been in progress so that we could hopefully get the books to the students. We'll be happy to review the issues. Again, I want to make clear, this is not the district or the school administration going through to try and target particular issues. It came to our attention when it came to our attention, we were moving forward in a way that complied with the policy and could quickly get the yearbook to the students. But we'll be happy to review the others.
I also heard comments about the photos being covered, and I don't believe that's accurate.
Yes, the section, whatever is in that section, is what has been, is what is going to be covered. The request with the publisher of the book was to get stickers that would accommodate that, and that has already been ordered, and they are likely being applied right now.
Okay, I just have one final thing I'd like to say. The day of the walkout or protest, I actually stopped at Lyman for about 20 minutes. It was very, very peaceful. It wasn't any different, in my opinion, than any other gathering. In fact, it was pretty calm, in my opinion. I don't see a distinction between what a student has on their shirt or if they carry a flag. It was very peaceful. I actually was surprised today when I read the page and the comments in the yearbook. I did not take offense personally, and I was surprised by the coverage that has taken place. Could parents not opt out? You know, say, I'm okay with this. I paid for this yearbook. Let me have it as it is.
Have the stickers already been started to be applied? Is there
That is my understanding.
Well, we need to find
because
out.
the
They're in my room. They've not been applied.
I would be happy out of my own personal pocket to
I've said that
cover different stickers that say this is not a school-sanctioned event, so that we're not, I agree. I have
you.
read this. I do not find offense to it. There's a
I can find so many more things offensive than this.
I will personally write the check to cover
Me too.
different stickers that don't cover this section, because I don't believe.
Order, please. Order. Allow the chairman to
Made
speak.
more of a big deal out of this, and we're now all over the world on this. This is the most ridiculous thing. These are our children. We need to do what's best for them.
Order.
We appreciate the support. Let us get through this so that, can we please make a call if it is true that that the yearbooks are in an office? I will drive to 10 different stores tomorrow and buy stickers to write and handwrite statements on it that this isn't a school, something. To cover up a whole section, I understand policy is policy. I don't agree with the policy in this case.
But if a disclaimer can bring it into
Context,
There
into
you go.
policy, into compliance, that doesn't censor, that doesn't cover up art, that doesn't cover up their words, please let us have the opportunity to do that.
I don't know if you need it in the form of a motion, but I'm happy to write the check with you.
Please, I would like a motion and a
I will make a
specific.
motion
I'll second it.
to provide stickers that
From us and us.
say a different statement, that don't cover the entire section, that can be provided to Lyman tomorrow so that the books can get distributed quickly.
And let me, I want to make sure, Chairman, that the actual stickers don't come from Lyman. They come from
I understand, they came from
Correct, so they would have to be ordered. That was part of the analysis of what the remedy would be. They would have to, it would take some time. I just want, because
So
you're
can't
saying
we-
tomorrow.
Can we just have a note in there? I mean, what does it, I mean, everybody already knows already anyways. It doesn't really matter at that point. It's just,
the
this is that
stickers
part I
be
don't get.
cut with a paper cutter and to.
I think the yearbook, it's called Crack and Peel, the yearbook companies will provide that. It might take a few extra days. The yearbooks may not get out this week as predicted, but we should be able to get them in a day or two.
Order. Order,
I-
order, please.
point of
Allow the
order.
chairman to acknowledge whomever is speaking. Chairman Pennock?
Would you be okay if we asked that question would you like to come up to the podium and address? We have not seen the stickers. I don't know.
So I was just saying, I'm in close contact with the publishers, the yearbook advisor. They can overnight us stickers. I could design something tonight that said, that could go in the front of the book or on the page small at the bottom that said it wasn't a sponsored event. I believe I could have those within 24 hours. Certainly, we could get them so the yearbooks go out this week. What day are we? We could, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I feel confident we could have those out by Thursday, in the yearbooks by Thursday.
Would you?
a statement with review and approval written, just to be sure.
And while I hear and I appreciate all the input and the comments, we do live in a land of laws, and I know Ms. Cole-Palmer is here to make sure that our policies are followed correctly. And while we're having a discussion, the management of the school district falls to our administrators and staff that whatever direction we do choose to go forward with, that we are adhering to policy, which is our law. So while I appreciate the motion, I just want to make sure I have policy approval through the school board attorney and superintendent.
And to be clear, the discussion regarding the review and regarding the issue was done in concert with council. So, I mean, this is not, again, this was not aimed at a particular group or any student. This was about, here is the policy, here is the request, where do we go from here?
Are you referring to the action now, making sure we're in policy by making a motion to?
In making the motion, the board can state, as Ms. Member Allman pointed out, that a review of the statement be seen prior to any actual application or use of the sticker as revised by the board.
So who would need to see that statement?
The administration
You?
and me. I can certainly be a part of the process to look at it, to address
Amen.
policy. This is not a legal issue, it is a policy issue.
Could you? Do you want to devise that statement and provide it to the teacher, or do you want her to provide a statement and you approve it for the order to get placed?
How would the board like it to happen? I will take direction from the board.
For Almond.
I feel more comfortable with Ms. Cole Palmer reviewing it first than to put the teacher in a position.
Having Ms.
Writing
Cole
it.
Palmer write it.
Correct.
And provide it to the teacher. Is that something you are available to do tonight?
I am available to do that if that is the direction of the board, yes.
As long as we're adhering to our policy.
Yes, ma'am.
Because my concern, tonight was the first time I heard about 2 other possible schools. And again, going back to policy, because that's all school board members are supposed to work on, is I just wanted to make sure we were consistent in our policy implementation. And I don't have the information in front of me tonight to know that. I don't know if you do, Mr. Rice, or if it has come to the level of any other administrator knowing it, so.
So is that a separate issue, the Haggerty and Oviedo yearbooks?
No, I'm just adding that that's why I'm willing to have this conversation I'm just concerned about making sure that we are
That we're being consistent. So we wanna
governing
make
by
sure
our
that-
policy, and that's what we're supposed to be doing.
And I just want to say that, we all make mistakes, and sometimes we have judgments that things that we, have done that we maybe not are proud of, but we own up to it, and we try to do what we can to fix it. And as students, I'm proud of you for bringing it to our attention and for you standing up, as well as parents and faculty members, because we're all in this together. And it's important to know that every day we learn from you guys. There's not a day that we don't. You all teach us every single day, and you brighten our lives, and we appreciate you all. So don't ever lose your voice, okay? You all do what you do best and use it to your best advantage with respect, integrity, and you did so, and we appreciate that.
Order, please.
For Kraus, you have a comment?
I actually was going to say point of order because we only have the motion and the amendment.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes, thank you.
I need a
With all due
second.
respect,
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
if you could repeat the motion I don't think was necessarily clear in terms
Okay.
of direction to be
I
given.
would like to make a motion to purchase revised stickers with a statement produced by board attorney to be delivered to Lyman to adhere to the pages, not covering up the entire content of the sections that came into question.
Second.
Discussion first. Any discussion?
Well, I guess my discussion is an add-on to your sentence or just an understanding for Ms. Cole-Palmer to know that our direction is whatever size, shape, words that are in that sticker that you would create, it keeps us legal to board policy. Because I
correct.
So if I'm point of order, Gentlelady, Member Calderon, you could do a friendly amendment to the motion to add that instruction as part of the motion itself and to be accepted by Chairman Pinnock, if she so choose.
I accept that amendment. Does that need to be seconded?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Please.
Order.
If you could please send me, I don't know if it has to be prepaid, if they can bill us, but if you could please let me know ASAP so I can either provide a credit card and we can
all of us
handle on our end. We've been sitting here for 3 hours. Can we take a 5-minute break, please? Thank you all. We will reconvene now. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation on the consent agenda?
Yes, that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have an item to pull. Excuse me.
Member Almond had something
She's pulled that for separate consideration,
we're
so
gonna do
that
it
will be
after.
under.
I had written down farther to
Yep.
read my statement.
Yeah, we have it pulled.
So it's personnel recs pursuant to Florida statute section.
Well, you don't,
vote on
yours
this
will be
motion
under
Okay.
items removed for separate.
Okay.
It'll be next. So
I just
let's
wanted to remind you.
approve consent agenda with the removal of 6D. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item removed for separate consideration. Member Almond, 6D.
Thank you. So personnel recs pursuant to Florida statute section 112.3143, and to avoid even the appearance of a conflict, I'm abstaining from this vote as it may result in a special gain or loss for my relative. My daughter-in-law works for the school district, and she put in for leave.
Do I have a motion for approval? Yes, ma'am. Oh, Ms. Sue, okay. Thank you.
Been a long night.
If you would please read the recommendation.
Yes, that the matter that was removed for consideration be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation for student discipline hearings?
Certainly, that the School Board of Seminole County approve the student disciplinary recommendations from April 18, 2022, and April 25, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, no new business. Superintendent, do you have a report?
No, it is read-only and included in your book.
And board committees, would you like to do an update or save that for another board meeting?
I'm okay with another board meeting.
Me too. I'm okay with another board meeting as well. I have nothing to report. So that concludes this meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you.